first time.
Happy Sunday!
Happy Sunday!
I got bored.
Does that mean every episode starts with like really awkward silence, or do you cut in?
Oh yeah, no, we
I mean,
know the awkward set we do.
I mean, it's on brand, to be fair.
Right. It's been way too long. Let's get back into it. Is everybody ready?
Yes.
We are ready.
Lovely. So, last time, after a fairly high-stakes battle with a large squid, you found yourself enjoying a rather peaceful journey for the next 2 days on board the Juliet, your hired vessel. On the journey, you got to know your latest stowaway, which was a gnome, a bard by the name of Spinwin, who had travelled from the small town of Daggerford on his way, coincidentally, to Baldur's Gate, your very destination. He was on his way to meet with a friend after receiving a friend called Roland Drightdown. You haven't gleaned much more than that. Eventually, you pulled up onto land and you continued your journey after saying goodbye to the crew and to Rigand, and finding yourselves once more on solid land, you continued your journey, where you met a tiefling along the way, a tiefling called Adler, who offered you a place to stay for the night, along with her commune, of around 25 tieflings or so, and as you sat around and made merry with this new band of individuals, you had dinner, you played music, you danced, Spinwin told stories and sang, and eventually you all went to your respective resting places in some of the caravans, and Dalafar and Terra kept watch. And as Terra went to rouse Zini from her slumber to take over from them, Dalafar was met by an individual in the shadows. Neri sits before you, sitting on one of the barrels, his legs up, black dragon scale cloak hanging from his shoulders, his obsidian skin and his white hair cascading down, and eyes that seem to just be iris, sharp cheekbones, pointed ears, and he looks at you, his head cocked ever so slightly. How have you been?
Dedicating my time to finding you.
Is that right? I'm flattered.
And where are your minions?
I came on my own, and he stands. He's taller than you remember him being, coming in at around 6, maybe 6'2". And as he stands, his jagged armour, which would usually clink, seems to be entirely silent. His spurs cutting against the grass as he stands. He looks down at you. I've nearly come to talk.
Well, you know what I have to say and what I want, so make it quick.
So these people you're travelling with, colleagues, companions, friends.
What is it to you?
It's nice to see you in company again, that's all. Last time I saw you, you were down the bottom of a gorge. Anyway, I won't keep you long. I just wanted to come and tell you that I accept your challenge.
Right here, right now?
No. No. You see, long life, Galifar. And he looks at the barrel, and there are a couple of bottles, wine, other things, and he picks up one of them and uncorks it. Long life lends itself so easily to boredom. Knowing you're alive stems that somewhat.
Well, let me put an end to your life here and now, or give me what I want.
I don't have it on me. So this group of yours, do they know what it is you seek?
I ready my axe.
He puts up his hands, dropping the bottle on the ground. No. Just a check. Do they know how far you'll go to secure it?
As far as I have to.
So they know they're expendable then?
I narrow my eyes.
I merely wanted to come to officiate our little game of cat and mouse.
You look like a pretty big mouse.
Is that right? You are delightful. You trust these people you're traveling with them?
I have no patience for this.
I wouldn't.
And why is that?
You see, I know you don't believe me. But the joy of it is, regardless of how little you trust me, over the next few days, might be months, that doubt will nibble away the back of your skull. Keep an eye on them, one friend to another.
I will never put you as a friend.
That's a shame. You know, I'm rather excited to see where this leads. Looks like your friends are stirring.
And what makes you think y'all let you get away?
Because Dalafar, I was never really here. And, like a stone dripped in water, he appears to ripple out, and his already dark black form appears to drift away into the night sky. The sound of the campfire crackling behind you, he is gone. Terra and Zini.
I think I'm just going to say you could cut the sexual tension there.
So, you've gone to rouse Zini?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Lovely. So you're taking over for the evening?
Yeah.
Cool. Lovely. So as you come out of your caravan, you see Dalafar standing a little way from the campfire. But other than that, all is quiet. Just the campfire in the middle, giving off an orangey glow around the entire camp.
Cool. I watch.
Cool. Lovely. Are you guys going to sleep? Or
I assume I went straight to bed after I
after?
finished
Okay.
cleaning. Yeah.
Cool.
Also, I was probably sleeping outside.
Okay, sure thing.
Probably next to Rocket.
Cool, awesome. He's around the back of one of the bardos, and as you stir, he also kind of and starts waddling over with you, and he sits by the campfire as well.
I assume rhinos sleep by laying down.
I think so.
Yeah.
They're not like horses.
Yeah.
I like to think they just fall onto their side.
Just keel over.
In one
Yeah.
immediate.
Venus already asleep. Oh, dear.
So, Dalafar, what are you doing?
Are you here at this point, or are you just coming to where I am?
I'm on my way.
Okay.
It's not terribly far.
No.
So I sort of relax and then sort of unclench my fist on my axe for a minute. Take a deep breath. And start heading back.
Zini, can you make a perception roll for me as you sit on watch?
Ooh. It would be 23.
23.
Yeah.
The night is quiet, and as you sit there, it's the first time in a very long time that you have just been sat in nature. Forests surround you, trees, exposed roots. You hear animals as well, the odd rustling of badgers, the leaping of hares. And you forgot how loud the countryside is. Quiet in comparison to Waterdeep, but there is a different... It is a web of noises that you are used to. You can pick out what different things are. Each rustle of the leaves, you seem to be able to understand what that means in some way. You sit there and nothing appears to happen, except over near one of the Vardos, you can see a figure who, as you squint a bit closer, you see is relieving themselves near to one of the carts. And upon closer inspection, you see that it is Ebsic, the orange tiefling with the pot belly and the beard from before, and he's sort of...
Turn the other way.
As you turn, you hear footprints sort of coming towards you. You mind if I sit with you a bit?
No, of course not.
I just wanted to thank you for your words.
Which one?
Before dinner.
Oh!
They were very kind.
Well, whatever we can offer. You've been kind to us, so...
Wow. Not often we have strangers. So, who is Bahamut? Is that a god?
Yeah, he's the Platinum Dragon.
Is that so?
Yeah, he's protector of Dragonborn and I think some dragons, but not all of them. It's been a while since I spoke to anyone about it. But
So you believe them?
I do.
I mean,
Sometimes more than others, but
well, that's the test, isn't it? I've struggled with my spirituality as well, from time to time, but some days it comes easier than others.
yeah. There's faith wavers sometimes, isn't it?
I once met a man who told me that we live in a world where to believe in no God is an act of suicide. There's proof of it everywhere. There's faith. Faith wavers, faith sticks, faith. It's difficult, I think. I think if you could find it, even if it's not in religion.
Well, it's belief and faith aren't always the same thing.
Precisely. It's a good band you have, though. It's a good band.
Yeah, alright.
If it's all right to ask, the tiefling you travel with, Oriana, she seems lost. She's been that way since the beginning.
The beginning
Or since you know him.
Oh.
One another.
of... I don't know. I think we're all a bit lost.
Just, I don't know, maybe it's because this last year, he references all the caravans. We've all been lucky enough to find one another in a place that does not look kindly on us. She's lucky enough to have found you. She seems like she needs that guidance.
Not sure we're guides.
Well, maybe guidance isn't what I mean. Maybe compassion. I feel like she hasn't had a lot of compassion in her life.
Yeah, I feel like maybe she doesn't cut people breaks because nobody's ever cut her one.
I should say, it's not up to you to close that. You know.
I know. But if we tried to help, then at least we tried.
You're good people. You're good.
Yeah, we're alright.
No. I know the good ones. Right! And he stands up, his tail sort of brushing against the fire quickly. Right. Good night. I expect you'll be headed on your journey in the morning.
Yeah, we've got to get to Baldur's Gate. So.
Well, I'll leave you to it. Good night.
See you.
You too. He heads off into one of the Vardos. And you sit, enjoying the night sky, enjoying the stars. As you sit there in silence for the first time, it's almost a meditative experience. You're sat there and you can feel your hands in the grass, and it's like you can feel the earth and the roots and the worms underneath, and it is pleasant. And you savour it, knowing that you are at some point going to be returning to Baldur's Gate. Not returning to Baldur's Gate, sorry, going to Baldur's Gate, returning to an urban environment. Yeah. It's backstory then. But you take this moment and you relish it. Who is taking the third watch? Okay.
Just gonna rearrange things one.
Okay.
I realise it's
There's the sound of
disruptive.
pens moving.
So, Ariane, are you going to wake her or are you going to wake her on your own?
Yes. But I will, rather than shaking her or touching her, I will just say softly, Ariana, it's your turn.
I don't like her.
Okay.
She's dead.
You're after that. Oh dear.
I want you to DM.
Well, she does have the Tingleverse.
Coming soon.
Love is real.
So, Ariana remains unstirred.
What's
When it comes to
transforming?
me. Oh dear.
Run. Let's have a look. What can we do?
Punch her in the face.
Wake me up. It's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one
That's
way to
not going
guarantee.
to end well.
Oh, it's not me doing it.
Okay,
Okay.
I have Rodigan just move just with his head
This
very
is-
I mean,
close to
are
her.
you inside a caravan?
Oh, you inside or are you outside?
No, I'd be outside.
Outside, okay, cool.
So have Rodigan move like
It's hospitality, and we're all just
a
like,
little way away.
around.
Okay.
and then just like stomp the ground a couple of times.
Okay, cool. Roll a perception check
Yeah.
for me, quickly.
Whoa, an actual 20!
Wow.
You, in your dreams, which are usually fairly fraught anyway, in the darkness there is this. It's getting closer and closer and closer. I would say it probably wakes you up with that much of a. You perceive it very well.
I spring awake.
Cool. Rodigan is just kind of like backs away a bit. He's like looking at you, and you can tell it's a look of. "Why don't you make me do this?"
Does he do the scared goat thing and just goes?
What is your obsession with him falling over sideways?
Yeah.
Catherine starts.
Both of you. You can be very accusatory with this pen.
No, come on.
It's like tipping cows.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah, when that happens, I just go, Oriana, it's your turn, and then I just walk off.
okay.
I stare after Zini
What you
for a moment and then take watch.
Okay.
And then I realise Rodigan stayed behind and just go.
Just sort of sheepishly like walks past Oriana.
Just a wide berth.
Cool. Can you roll a perception check for me? See what you notice during your watch.
I got a natural 20 and now
Yeah,
I'm
but
going
you were
to-
sleeping.
It's a 14.
14. You look out and you are sort of almost always on guard to some extent. But the night is quiet, and over the course of your watch, Eventually you start to see the first orangey, pinky glows of sunlight coming over the horizon. And everything is awash in beautiful colour, yes.
Before I go back to sleep,
Where you won't be
Or will I
going back to
stay
say,
awake?
yeah, you'll
Okay.
stay awake.
whilst I'm taking watch,
Mm-hmm.
can I? I would like to cast Find Steed,
Okay.
which will take 10 minutes.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's fine.
That's
Remind
a
me what that does
problem.
again. Sorry.
Finds the steed.
Yeah, I know, but that's not like just find
So-
something in a local area, right?
No.
That's like it's
No.
like a hell beast thing,
Yeah,
right?
so I can summon a spirit that assumes the form of an
That's
unusually intelligent, strong, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I would like to choose a warhorse skeleton, which I've already looked up the stats for.
Okay.
And my steed serves as a mount, both in combat and out, and I have an instinctive bond with it that allows us to fight as a seamless unit. And whilst mounted on my steed, I can make any spell that casts the target. I can make any spell that would probably only
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
like work for me.
I mean, I'm just
and
saying.
also,
We started attacking you first.
the steed can also speak a language of my choice, so I would like it to speak
Common.
Infernal.
Cool. Okay.
Name, please.
Oh dear.
Yes.
I mean,
Can't cast and not have a
the
name.
obvious name is
Epona.
Skeletor's.
Oh,
Huh?
nice.
Epona.
Oh.
Okay.
Don't
Excellent.
forget to mark off your spell slot usage.
Yes.
Charge.
So, as you sit there, the
Personal joke.
embers of the fire
Playing
slowly
jokes with yourself.
trickling away out of the woods, sort of preluded by like a black mist.
We were practicing this the other day.
Very, very clear.
Yes.
We really need like some coconuts.
Actually, it was when we were playing D&D, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Walking slowly out of the woods. Sort of joints, sort of softly clicking. I'm going to add more sound effects. But this skeletal horse, sort of this ephemeral body over it that seems to shift in and out. It's like oil and water. And it's made of mist, and this mane kind of seems like dry ice when it like falls down, and it's like that, but it seems to just disappear as this white and black creature walks forward, quite serene, but it sort of steps forward and just bends its head to you.
If it's a skeleton, that would be really uncomfortable to sit on.
But I imagine there's a saddle. Because horses, skeletons go round anyway, where their ribs are.
Oh, do they?
Yeah. So, Epona is in front of you.
Epona.
That'll be the theme.
So, is there anything else you want to do while watch?
No.
Cool. So, sun rises, and as you each wake, a few of the tieflings come out. And go, as you just sit cross-legged next to this steed, which is just kind of slowly looking around. It's weird. It's like it's in slow motion, but that old like 90s slow motion where it's like sort of leaves behind echoes of itself as it moves.
Oh, that's so
fucking
fucking cool.
Everyone is just like, what the fuck? But they're all tieflings, so they're like, they don't think you're like this crazy like witch devil thing. But this is the first infernal steed they've seen ever. So yeah, you all wake and also see your companion with a terrifying horse next to her.
I'll just shrug your shoulders and go, at this point, it's just sort of used to it.
Yeah.
It's an Oriana thing.
Yeah, I think Scarlett's like, oh, good morning, Oriana. Does your new friend need to eat?
I don't. No.
Wonderful. We'll try some options.
Do you want me to speak to him? Her? Her. Do you want me to speak to her and ask?
If you like. Unless Oriana could speak with this new friend.
I would like to speak to.
This is not how I envisioned this.
It's infernal.
Yeah, out of interest, if, like, overhearing Infernal, what does it sound? Does it sound demonic? Is it going to be like
the opposite.
or is it just going to be like,
It's
oh,
so.
Canadian. Oh, hey there, boy.
So
So you're going out there, buddy.
as Oriana and Epona speak with one another, for the rest of you who have not heard Infernal before or understand Infernal, it is the equivalent of nails on brick. That's the sensation it kind of feels like when you're listening to it. The actual sounds themselves are almost whispers, occasionally punctuated by sharp consonants. And so as they're talking, there's this sort of constant. It's not pleasant to listen to at all. What are you asking the horse?
Do you eat? Good.
It bows and just stands once more.
I would like to pet Epona.
Your hand kind of connects with the mist and then goes through until it's just bone. It's cold to the touch. It's not.
I'm loving it.
Okay. You guys are just watching us. Like, this is the most affection you've seen Oriana give anything. It's a little bit disconcerting, honestly. So, is there anything anyone wants to do?
I'm waiting for an answer.
Oh, yeah.
No.
I was a pity that I just go and make some breakfast.
So, Igoria joins you and sort of helps prepare some breakfast, although after a time she just like, you really know what you're doing, and goes off and sort of plays with the kids. And yeah, so is there anything anyone wants to do before the next stage of the journey?
Yeah. Okay.
I think I'm just watching the horse.
Yeah.
Probably
How's Rodigan feel about the horse?
Rodigan is tentative. I think also feeling a little threatened there as like the group's only steed. He's like, it's much cooler than I am.
Oh, and how's Juliet feeling about this horse?
Juliet is like occasionally sort of like running over and sort of like gnawing a little bit at the bone occasionally, just and then just sort of as mist sort of like fluffs off its nose, it's like it's sort of like dancing around until eventually it finds a butterfly going past it and it's running off. She's having a great time. She's not on a boat anymore. She's like in her own element, as most of you are. But as the day continues, or the morning rather, you notice a few of the tieflings are putting things in burlap and sort of seem to be tying packages and parcels. And as you guys sort of prepare for the next leg of your journey, you can see that a small pile of around 5 parcels have been made, 6 parcels, sorry, have been made near one of the Vardos, and you can see Igoria walk up to these with Adler, and eventually sort of they're talking and they sort of seem to be agreeing with one another. Eventually Adler walks up to you, her sort of thick hair, sort of wild and not quite tamed after the night's sleep, and she comes over and goes, we got you all some food for the journey. It's the least we can do. We can't take you the rest of the way, but if it helps, you're more than welcome to it. There's not much. There's bread, there's some vegetable, and we were able to scrape together 1 bottle of wine for you all, but hope that's alright.
Thank you.
Not a problem, honestly. How are you? Did you sleep well, all of you?
As well as can be expected.
Good.
It's very
Good. I'm glad. Obviously, we're not city dwellers. We made it. So we're glad you enjoyed. So okay. So when are you setting off?
We'd like to get to Baldur Gate as soon as possible.
Well, my advice, for what it's worth, if you just continue following the long road, it'll be around 15 minutes that way, and then you'll meet it. Continue on. Should be another day until you're within sight of the city.
Which way are we coming in?
You're coming from the north.
Okay.
But obviously, if there's anything else you require, please let us know, and we can see if we can scrimp and do what we can to help. But if not, it's been lovely having you here. And at this point, her wife comes as well and puts her arm around, and she goes, really lovely.
Thank you for having us.
Anytime. And Ebsik comes over as well. And you can see there's a small gathering. Eventually, all of these multicoloured tieflings are sort of stood in a semicircle around all of you, this crowd. And Ebsik goes, well, whatever you're doing, whatever takes you to the city, I wish you all luck. We all do.
Thank you.
The Laurith guide you. And everyone sort of mumbles to them. And Spinwin, standing next to you, just looks at them all and, you know, in all of my 203 years, I have never been treated with such hospitality. I will remember you all very fondly, and if I am ever passing again, I will probably be dropping by. And they all nod and thank him for his entertainment, his stories. He looks up at you all. Right, are we going then?
Yes.
So, who gets the skeleton horse then?
That's mine.
That's yours. Okay. Right.
Was it not obvious?
I mean, it was my attempt at a joke, but onwards, let's go!
Oh.
And starts, like, walking off, like...
Presumably, as we set off, we overtake.
Oh,
like, within-
immediately!
like, even Rudiger is us.
Yeah. So,
And as we go, I just pat Rudiger on the side
I said, you're still the coolest. They're just all copying us. It's fine.
and continues on. So, eventually, you're on the road again. It takes you, as Adler said, around 15 minutes through undergrowth and through long grass until eventually you're on the long, dry dirt road on your way south.
How long does it take?
Around a day till you're in sight of Baldur's Gate.
Just the word
Okay, so we're going to camp on the way.
Yes.
Can I just do a retrospective insight check
Mm-hmm.
on
On Spinman, sure.
Yeah.
Did he mean it when he said?
The best Scarlet's very like, no.
Wait, are you just inciting whether he's had better hospitality?
Yes.
Not his age, just what's that?
I mean, their cooking is atrocious, and that's part of hospitality. So,
Oh dear, I mean that was an 8, so she probably can't.
He seems really genuine. He
She
seems
does
really
not buy that. She is like,
all I'm seeing is the Futurama meme with like, can't tell if he's lying or I'm just rubbish at records.
yeah.
So, is there anything anyone wants to do on the journey at all? You have around a day's walk, probably.
so Orion's on horseback. The rest of us probably just walking.
How's the view up there? Great.
Yes.
Are you comfortable?
Very.
Insight check.
You do seem to be in your element.
So, are you going to rank that all the way into the city.
Is that a problem?
Well, I don't. I mean, I've never been to Baldur's Gate, but I
So then you
assume
probably wouldn't know, would you?
probably not. No, true.
I merely just look away and start keep walking a little bit faster away from the group.
Looking at Tara, she's delightful, isn't she? And he reaches into his pack, pulls out a bottle of wine, and as the journey continues, conversation continues, and Spinwin occasionally regales you all with stories, and occasionally you can hear him humming to one another. Tara looks on disapprovingly. But as you're walking, eventually, Zini, you feel a tap on sort of as high as he can reach, probably around like your lower back, and Spinwin sort of looks at you. I was wondering if I could ask you a question, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Back by the coastline, Regan, I couldn't help but overhear. He said.
Are you cleansing my door?
I thought I heard him say something like, look after him. Now, I don't mean to pry, but I assume he probably didn't mean the dwarf, so...
Dalafar.
Dalafar.
How would you like it if I referred to you as the gnome?
Alright, sorry, I meet a lot of people, it's easy. Dalafar. My point is, I assume Brigand didn't mean Master Dalafar, so...
Why wouldn't you mean Master Dalafar? He's looking after just like anybody else.
Do I hear this?
Make a perception check.
I mean, that's 22.
Yeah, you hear this conversation.
I'm not travelling to keep my voice down.
But, in all seriousness, what was that about?
Nice. We're friends. We look after each other.
Okay. Just seemed to mean a lot to him, is all.
Friends mean a lot to each other. What's your point?
Well, I assumed that him didn't mean him. Maybe I'm misreading it, maybe.
Is there another him other than you?
Well, I didn't know.
And
I didn't know.
And Rudigan, obviously.
Right,
Rudigan
okay.
can look after himself.
Right, okay. Just asking, is all.
I know.
You are a most fascinating individual. I've had a very long time, and again he starts to
It's like
explain his why.
No, I think I believe that.
So, you continue on.
Mm.
Is there anything anyone wants to do for the rest of the day?
Okay, so I touched the sending stone. Oh, Christ.
You don't need the paper to be able to do it.
I mean,
It's not real.
Well, I'm not going to touch
I
the
have
paper.
my version. If you
Yeah,
need it.
it'll be the same.
I was just going to write a very quick. Well, I don't need to touch the sending stone. I was more going to write in it because you're the only one who has the sending stone.
Yeah.
It's going to write a note to you that the rest of us don't
I
have.
don't think I have all of my actually.
Oh yeah, because I can read upside down your tiny writing. Really.
Out of your hand.
Is there anything anyone else is wanting to do while this covert conversation is going
You know
on?
what? I'm going to ask Spinman.
Okay.
I'm going to. So, Spinman,
Yes.
tell me, was that your usual bardic flourish there when you said that was the best hospitality you'd had in 200 years?
Well, I can't speak for the others, but the cuisine was quite delightful, if I say so myself.
The cuisine that I cooked.
You did, yes. Well, the accommodation was also good.
The caravan you passed out in.
Yes, it was good. It was a soft place for me to lay my head to rest when I was, quite frankly, a wee bit wistful.
I mean, it was.
I can say one.
Ah, okay. So I take it you're a woman who probably enjoys the finer things in life. Is that, would I be incorrect?
I enjoy many things. Many of them fine.
Right, okay.
Fine or like fine?
But yeah, I'm just fine, Spinman. I'm talking about this.
Sound like a teenager. How are you?
I'm
Fine.
fine. Oh,
Fine, mom.
you're not my real dad. Yeah.
I mean, in truth, For me, hospitality is a warm hearth. Anywhere I can lay my head. Over my many, many years on this earth, I've learned to make do. And I've learned that often community is what I take most comfort in. So, is it the most comfortable place I've ever stayed? Probably not. Was it the best entertainment I've ever had? Also, probably not. But, in terms of warmth, I feel rejuvenated. I feel that's all one can ask for when one is on the road, alone, save for, of course, your wonderful group.
Side
Yeah, sure.
no.
Also,
I would like to check to see if he believes the word wonderful.
Yeah.
also, him saying the entertainment wasn't that good is a self-burn.
Yeah.
You did a lot of entertainment. Oh dear, where am I? 13.
It seems to be fairly legitimate. in what I
Fair
say.
enough.
Yeah. But,
Masochist, but it's not. Everyone has their things. Yes.
but I may well have better nights in future, and I may well have had better nights in my past. But in another 203 years, I believe I will look back on this night, and I will think on it fondly. And I will think on them, and I will hope that, while many of them will have sadly passed on, such as the burden of having such long lives, I hope they have found a peaceful place to lay their heads for the long day. Which is a very long way to answer your question. Yes, I did quite enjoy myself. It was quite nice.
I mean, you are a bard, it's very unexpected. I suppose, in a sense, if you look at it from a distance, along. Stop! Along long distance, there's a certain provincial charm to these places, but still, I think I'd much rather fondly remember being fed sweetmeats dipped in gold leaf by hand than a caravan and a violin.
Well, you can agree to disagree. Or just disagree, that's also okay. Disagree, okay. Okay.
Do I hear a
Oh wait, no, it was you sing, but I forgot it was you playing.
Yeah.
And
Also-
some dancing, and I said instead.
Because
I wouldn't insult Jeannie.
I was about to yell, "It's a viola."
I
So,
wouldn't insult Jeannie, don't worry.
as you all continue on your journey and your walk or your ride,
Can I just quickly? Can
Yes.
I be like collecting food and seeds and berries and stuff, and just like reveling,
sure.
just taking as much time as I can, being like, okay, I'm sitting.
So as the group occasionally, like, there is this sort of elastic band thing where occasionally you stay behind, you get excited by a particular end, and you're running after them again. But yeah, you all manage to fairly uniformly continue your walk. Eventually, after probably around 9-10 hours journey, eventually the air begins to change. It becomes saltier. It becomes slightly chillier. And as you crest over a hill, a new sight awaits you. You see the coast stretching out before you, more mountainous and hilly than you've seen previously, interrupted by great swathes of forest and green. And into this coastline ahead of you cuts a long, wide river, along which vessels, rowboats, all sorts of water vehicles drift along, like pinpricks in the distance. And as you crest over the hillside, from your vantage point, you finally see your destination. A city, shaped like a jagged crescent along the coast. Giant walls surround the land-facing northern portions of the city, while its south opens up to an epic waterway. Outside the city, long roads from afar stretch through its north and its east gates, and outside these great entrances, you see further buildings spilling out, small, poorly constructed, even from this distance you can tell that, sitting beneath the exterior of the city walls. As for the city itself, from what you can see, it is sprawling, packed from wall to wall with buildings and smokestacks and temples and towers, and even from this distance it is clear that the city itself appears to be divided in two. The north of the city, walled off from the other portion, sits high, flat, even, its buildings practically shimmering in the autumnal sunlight. The other side, very much a different matter. Cramped and crowded, it slopes down towards the river, and its streets peak and trough with each natural shape of the land it is built on. It is a sea of tiled roofs, wattle and daub buildings standing beside others constructed from sandstone and plaster, interrupted occasionally by temples and spires. And running alongside the entire southern portion of the city and meeting the river, you see crescent-shaped docks making up the south portion of the city, crammed with trading vessels, ships of all sizes, galleys, merchant ships, fishing boats. It is almost impossible to see the water for the amount of activity there is in the actual docks themselves. And in the centre of the docks, standing out in the water and towering hundreds of feet tall, a giant stone statue looks out to sea, sword in hand and shield by its side. And this is the sight that stands before you. After several days of travel, you have arrived at Baldur's Gate. It is getting dark now. The city is still probably another couple of hours walk. Like I say, it's very much in the distance. So it's up to you whether you wish to press on or whether you want to camp for the night.
I'm fine with camping.
Let's camp.
I was just saying, we should probably camp for the night and make a start in the morning to Baldur's Gate.
Are we on an open road, empty-ish kind of road?
Yes.
It's not like suburbs.
No, there has still been traffic
Yeah.
occasionally, although that's died down now. But you can see, like I say, there's this sort of outer portion of the city beyond the walls. You are several hours away from that, so you're not near any civilization or anything.
But we have like wooded areas and stuff, and tree lines.
Yeah, there are pockets of
Okay.
trees here and there, and
Is it like fields?
yes, for the most part, long grass and fields, and off in the distance you can see farmsteads and pockets of land that are clearly being used to grow crops. And
Carla, would you mind making your hut?
She's not in a great mood.
I would suggest we do it somewhere in a wooded area, not just in the open field.
Be valid to put it in the middle of the road.
Yeah, there are trees. Just being clear.
I'll let you choose.
so after some time you find a suitable area, sort of covered, slightly open. It's like a clearing in between like this small circle of quite thickly populated trees. Yeah, and it takes you around 10 minutes as you sit down and you sort of cast this circle around, and eventually just this imperceptible bubble appears above you. And it is warm. The air generally on your journey has been fairly cold. It's autumn, but it is approaching winter now, and the temperature within the sphere is beautiful, really quite comforting, actually. And there's a lot of room as well, even for Rudigan as well, who lies down and sort of nuzzles against the grass. So as you sit and sort of get ready for bed, Spinwin sort of sits there and he sits on his pack and starts putting down bedding. So I've been travelling with you all for a couple of days now, and I know I asked this question when I first met you, but I thought, seeing as we're now approaching acquaintances, if not friends, what takes you all to Baldur's Gate?
I'm going to say as soon as Scarlett cast the hook, she sat down and started reading her cookbooks.
Cool.
She's not engaging with it. She's pulling an Orion.
Oh, that needs to be a saying. I pull an Oreo.
Yeah.
That's a t-shirt.
Delphi just continues to unpack and
That's so horrible to listen to. It's like, I'm going to make this really charming gnome, and everyone's going to love him. Or it's like,
Fuck you!
Look at this.
It's always the NPCs you hate most that the party gravitate towards.
Yeah.
Always.
She's so emo, like,
Yeah.
in a struggle.
I mean, I only ask because if we're headed to the same place, I don't know, I might be able to be of help. I have certainly assisted.
You've never been to Baldur's Gate, so how would you know?
I have been alongside similar parties in my time, so I might be able to be of some assistance.
What kind of help could you provide?
Oh, well.
oh gosh.
I got like
Scarlett.
contact from that.
Well, actually, that is the reason I'm headed to Baldur's Gate, if you know.
It turns out he's actually like the most helpful person.
Oh, he
It
will
turns
be,
out
he
to
will
this
be, yeah.
long-term ally.
But fuck you guys! I'm
Our
not
best
sticking with you!
friend.
So why are you headed to Baldur's Gate?
I am headed to Baldur's Gate to meet with a very old friend of mine. We used to travel together.
When you say travel,
There's ghosts here.
it's just a rule.
No, it's literally just two thieves in the bush just going,
I would know if it were thieves or wolves.
you didn't roll a perception check.
I have a passive of 16.
Did you used to go on adventures?
I did, yes. I did. Very long time ago, but I did.
So, you know when you tell stories, are they stories about you?
Some of them, certainly.
Are they true?
It's just a squirrel.
They
Purring squirrel.
Indeed, like we've got hawk foxes. They can be a purring
Juliet
squirrel.
is currently like
Yeah, that
pouring
was
around.
like
and-
the Juliet sound.
They are true, yes. All of my stories, as often as I can make them, are true. I think there's little point in spreading falsehoods in this world. But yes, I used to travel with a party, and I am going to meet with one of them.
What were they like?
Not dissimilar to yourselves, actually. Much more, much more cohesive, and they seem to like me a lot more. But they
Was one of them a chef?
no.
Was
no.
there a rhino?
How do you have a group without a chef?
That's a good point.
We were potentially.
So true.
We were
Did one of them have a skeleton or?
no.
How do you have a group without a skeleton?
We were much more. I like to say traditional than perhaps you might be. We were fairly standard sword and shield type. Not so much me. I mainly stood at the back and
Annoyed people at some.
usually, but
So what was the purpose of your being there?
I got contact drone from that. I need to sit down.
I
Because this would be.
It's not
Actually,
like
I've played
it's
about
not like
it.
my
They can be
backup
very
character's
helpful.
one or anything.
a lot of the time it was simply
You got one backup character.
it was simply being there when they needed
Yes,
me most. It was
And what is it that you do?
I'm a friend first and foremost.
Well, a friend won't help that much in battle if they can't fight.
Maybe you're right.
No, let's hear him out. Please continue.
we were called the Old Guard, which seems more apt now. I'm very proud of all the things we did and were able to do back then.
Even the war crimes.
Well, less of those.
But
No,
yeah.
we did many things together. We fought in wars. We I don't like to boast, but once we saved the village from a dragon, that was,
You fought the dragon.
well, I didn't. As Oriana would probably be quick to point out, I just hung at the back and cowered a little bit, but
What do you do? What do bards do? I don't really understand. Obviously, you travel around and sing and
mostly I was their hype man, but
I have no idea what that means.
I travelled with them. I told their stories.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you were good at getting them work because you kind of
Basically,
the people.
I was basically their HR and their marketing guy, but they're good. They're all very, very old now and lost a lot. Like I say, our leader, Roland, reached out to me, and I, when he calls, I go.
So what's Roland like?
I met Roland when he was 19. I would have been 170. Fine. But he was one of the most impetuous young warriors I ever met, and that didn't ebb at all with age. In fact, he's even more determined and stubborn now than he was back then. But he's a brave warrior. He's probably pushing around 90, 92, 93 now. He's an old man, but it does. I can't kill you to that. Oh
No, if he was 19.
He's 86. Sorry, he's 86. And I was 136. So
Yeah, there we go.
I'm misremembering on that. Well, thanks for calling me out on that.
Sorry, just because he was 175, it was like that's like 30.
Yeah.
Not even 30.
I just went with it because I thought you meant to around that to distorted time and then.
Oh, he's lying about how old he
I
is.
just can't do that.
Yeah, I didn't think about it.
I didn't
There
even
was
question
You could have
it.
said he was, you know.
2.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that would have been
Yeah,
possible.
he was the most impetuous warrior I had. Age of 2, swinging a sword.
It's basically like Jacob and Vanessa.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Gross.
So yeah. But
Well, lend me.
so that's why I'm travelling now. I might not be of much use, but if Roland needs me,
You think he has a job for you?
I don't know. We stopped doing that a long time ago.
Why did you say that?
He doesn't. He's something of a nomad now. Essentially, yes.
Such a classist character.
Yeah, the exact opposite.
I'm
It's
just-
just role play.
I'm just wondering where the sassiness has come from. At the start. It's usually flippant.
Ah,
It's just not
hopeless.
me.
But I don't know what has brought him to Baldur's Gate. I don't know why he needs me, but I'm going.
Where are you meeting?
He gave me a name. Let me have a look. And he brings out sort of reams of paper and he looks through. A tavern called, let me see, the Dripping Tap is where I'm meeting him.
I love the idea that Scarlett is still looking through her cookbooks and just making these comments like as she's looking
Oh
through.
yeah,
She's
she's
so homeless.
yeah.
So,
She also did not enjoy that tavern name, like at all.
so I have given you my story. Why you headed to Baldur's Gate. because I know for a fact that at least one of you has no idea. So, not to be the one that throws a spanner in the middle of it, but are you not on the same page?
No one is here without their own volition. And I'd wager, as you suggested, through your many adventures, we have all lost something. And we are here together at the moment because for some reason or other we sort of wound up in each other's paths, and we've found that as a group, whilst we are still becoming friends, we have been more than willing to help each other out. So I'd wager right now we're probably a little sensitive to a few things, including why we're going and doing some things. So whilst we may not know exactly, some of us may not know exactly why we're going to Baldur's Gate, I'd wager we'll find our own purpose, but I think for the most part there is some element of trust in this group. So you can imagine someone outside the group asking a lot of questions. It might take a while to get the answers.
That's fair enough. Thank you for being so candid with me. Well, I'm going to go to sleep. Good night, all. If you need me, I'll be a poke away. And he throws a piece of bedding over himself and nuzzles down with his back towards you. And eventually this soft starts.
I'll take the first watch and then I stand up and then I go. We can leave the thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I leave it,
We just have to be in it when you make it.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get locked out of the
Yeah.
thing.
Guys!
And then I'm gonna go and stand. I don't know. In my head, we're off to the side in some trees.
Yes, you are.
And then there's like a little sort of thing where you can go and look out.
Yeah, no, pretty much. I mean, like
the-
I say, there are hills and kind of this hill. It's a hilly, mountainous region on the way to Baldur's Gate, which you can see. You can see it, like, obviously there's not the same light pollution as you would find in a modern city, but you can see it brightly lit up in the distance.
Candle pollution.
Yeah, candle pollution. Yeah. So yeah, you can.
Yeah,
you
so
can
I'll
see.
just go stand on a little.
Vista.
Yeah.
Cool. Is anyone else doing anything?
I go to the same place and stand next to her.
Okay. Are you guys
Go to sleep. Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
They're taking the first watch again. Fine.
Yeah, I think Scarlet will sleep, but she would have to do the second watch because she's going to sleep a lot.
Okay.
Would like to catch up on some reading.
Cool.
And I'll volunteer for third.
Cool.
But because it's warm and toasty, I'm becoming very happy that it's nice
Yeah.
temperature.
So, would you guys both like to make perception checks for me quickly?
I'm strong.
Is it really first roll?
Oh, it's a 1.
Oh dear.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
It's an 8.
You see Baldur's Gate. and
I'm
the,
really distracted by the view.
yeah, like
So
the
crap.
night sky. It's it is a really beautiful horizon.
I am changing dice. This is
One roll, and that's all it takes?
Wow.
this is not my first roll.
Cutthroat.
Oh, it's not, is it?
Yeah, it's getting worse.
So, you watch.
Are there actually wolves?
Occasionally, you hear wolf cries.
Okay.
Yes, but
No,
none that seem to encroach on where you are.
we fought wolves before.
We just ran into the hut.
Yeah.
Also, they probably smell ruddigan.
True.
So yeah, your watch continues without event. It's quiet, cold, but without event.
Okay. As we're sort of stood in that, just taking watch. I think I start speaking Midani,
Okay.
and
Get my translator up.
well,
I mean, you don't.
I was going to say that my Don is pretty not great speaking orally, but I think.
Invented
I'm
the language
fluent.
on the spot.
I have a
Pretty
single
good.
page.
So, what
Sorry.
do you guys discuss on your watch?
I just have some key phrases.
I mean,
It's like a tourist.
I was,
Oh, yeah,
I was-
shall I give you a
Yeah, I only took it up so that anyone overhearing, if they don't speak Medani, it's less likely to be understood. I think there will be eyes on us in Baldur's Gate.
What makes you say that?
Back at camp, Laris came to me in an image. And he didn't have a lot of good news.
Okay.
And he seems to think this is a game.
Do you think it's some kind of what was that thing we were talking about earlier? Like a trap?
A trap.
No, but like a ambush.
Ambush.
Yeah.
Could be, which is why I think we should be on our guard.
Do you think he has people?
He most certainly will do. I think he most certainly will do. He doesn't accrue that kind of power or that reach without people. And if he knows we're here, I don't know how, but if he knows we're here and thinking this is a game, we're all in great danger.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been looking for him?
A very, very long time. Ever since he left me at the bottom of the ditch.
How many years ago was that?
I can't even remember. No, sorry. Was that 6 years?
I think it was
6 years ago?
Oh, okay. So we're not talking hundreds. How
No,
old are you?
no.
Okay. You think he's living in Baldur's Gate?
I don't think he's living in Baldur's Gate, but from what we know about who is going to Baldur's Gate, like Iquith Mal, it's fair to assume he has some presence in the city, if not actually being there himself.
I'm confused about how this. What does this have to do with what we saw in the vaults?
Iquith Mal works with Laris, and he's not a very nice person. So between the two of them, if they're seeking, trying to take power in some way, shape, or form, like we saw with the leaders in the meeting, we had to make a swift escape from. That, I think that means that he has many people in power or in his pocket, or being threatened. And if he's looking for more power, it can only get much more dangerous. And if he knows, especially that I'm here, and he thinks this is a game, and that he knows what I need from him, what I need to get back, then it can only get much more dangerous as we keep going closer to Baldur's Gate.
He knows you're going there.
He knows I'm here, and he knows everyone else is with me.
Which means Iquith Mal knows.
Which means Iquith Mal knows.
Well, you said he knows who's with you.
He said he knows the group.
That could have even bigger consequences.
Yeah. And the last time I faced him, it didn't turn out very well. So, I'd rather make sure that we all, if nothing else, we all make it out alive at the very least.
If our chances are that low, what's your plan?
I don't know yet because I don't know what waits us in Baldur's Gate. But I intend to press on. If anything gets too hairy, we should make at least a plan to get out.
So we should keep a low profile.
As low as possible.
Does he have magical ways of knowing where we are?
I don't know, but I would assume so because he knew where we were in the camp and he was able to project himself there. So it's either he knows or someone he knows can do the very thing.
So hiding's not going to help.
I don't think so.
Hmm.
So a lot of danger waits us from Baldur's Gate. The only problem is I don't know what.
I mean, this all seems very high risk.
Yes. And the problem I think I'm having is immediately I think I should go alone. Because I don't want to put anyone else at risk. I've lost people on this journey. And I don't want to repeat my mistakes.
Yeah, I understand. Well, presumably that decision can be made when we have a specific location.
Yeah.
What was, it's been a long time since that session where we had all that information.
Yeah.
Did we just know Icarus Mile and
Ostafar Gate.
Ostafar Gate were just going towards it?
Baldur's Gate.
It was just Baldur's Gate.
No specifics were given.
And they were going to look for an item.
They had information that an item that would help them
Which
was
they're like,
in Baldur's Gate.
okay. You have any idea what the item is?
I know just as much as anyone else, nothing more than what we already know.
Okay. Well, we should probably talk to the others in the morning.
I intended to, yeah.
Because obviously only 3 of us heard what happened at the vaults.
Yes. Talk it over with the others in the morning and see what you all think. I'll just sort of sit down and just stare out over the landscape.
And then by the how long is a watch?
It's around 6 hours.
6 hours?
I think, no.
3 to 4.
3 to 4 hours.
Oh yeah, 3 to, yeah, except 8 hours is longer. Yeah, 3 to 4 hours, yeah.
You're watching the
No,
whole day.
Yeah.
Because I think because
It's
like
like
long rest
not,
is like 6 to 8 hours, but in order
Yeah.
for everybody, including people in the first watch to get it,
It's
It needs to
extra.
be
you have to sleep longer. So it's like
Okay, so before the end of that, so I'm assuming we sit in silence.
yeah.
Before the end of that, if I don't know if you gonna go and I don't know. You should know before we get there, since you shared so much with me about where you're from, where we're from.
Mm-hmm.
I only lived in Dakara for a handful of years. I don't really remember it.
Okay.
I grew up in Baldur's Gate. I don't know if that will be helpful.
Do you know your way around Baldur's Gate?
Yeah.
That would be very helpful. I'll leave that to you if you want to tell the others that. Thank you. Be very helpful.
So, watch passes to Scarlet. You guys go to sleep. Scarlet, I assume you're just going to read through.
Yeah, I think she's like.
What for God's sake? Don't
I think she is keeping watch, but she is distracted. She's reading and she's like scribbling like furiously.
Yeah.
So like, she is very.
My eye holes cut in there.
She's like looking up and she's like very
Make a perception check.
definitive.
At disadvantage because you are multitasking.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Self-imposed disadvantage.
Oh yeah, I mean that was a 19, so that's like
I don't imagine
quite a
a lot, which provides
okay, that's a 6.
apparently.
So you are.
Also, you're in the hut.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
trees.
Well, I can't leave. At least I can see if anyone comes. You know.
As far as you can see, nothing. But you are very distracted, and at one point, like Juliet wakes up and starts like pouring at one of the others, and you're just like, and you sort of have to do this quiet like run around.
Right now, darling.
But eventually you're able to settle her and you're able to sit down. But yeah, it's uneventful.
Thanks.
Other than that,
Are we fine with quills, I guess?
yeah.
I think at one point I do accidentally break one.
Okay.
And I just sort of...
You're writing with a multicolored Bible.
yeah. Oh, I love those in the side! Yeah, I spent like 3 hours just going, oh my god.
Did you ever,
This is the real
did you ever trying to get them two
Yeah,
at
it
a
was
time?
like,
Yeah.
Terrible.
that was the holy grail. That was like, you know, the Everest of those pens. And like, oh, they were so good. With my really boring quill. With my really boring quill. Yeah, Michael. What's this? You just
Scarlet shouts at Zini as she wakes her up for her watch. Carrying a feather going, what is this? This is what you wake to, Zini.
No. I was like, but I think she is going so hard, she just sort of break it.
Cool.
And she just kind of scrunches his feather, throws it on the floor, and gets another one, and lights with it.
So, Zini, you wake for your watch, and Scarlet, you can once more go to sleep. Zini, roll.
I go out of the hut.
Mm-hmm.
Try to do a better job than any of us three.
Let's see.
At least you tried.
Not great. It's not great. It's still 10, though, so it's pretty good.
You are
Average.
really enjoying being back outside. And once again, like, you found a strange sense of calm when you just sort of sat on your own the previous night. And so once again, you sit down, and without Rudigan's snores nearby as well, you sort of, it's like all the sound in the world seems to just disappear. And you sit down, and once again you sort of paw at the earth with your claws. You can feel, after a time, this throb. It's hard to tell whether it's the throb of your heartbeat or whether it's something else, but it's like you can feel the earth itself. You can feel movement, footsteps of animals, paw prints left. There's a real sense of zen and a real sense of calm that comes with this. And eventually, the sun comes up over the water near the coastline, and Baldur's Gate ahead of you, this shadow slowly lifts from it as the sun slowly rises and bathes it in this warm, orangey glow. And Tiamon's tiny hut disappears into the ground, and you're all once again kind of faced with this quite bracing cold as you all wake. And Spinwin stirs and stretches his arms and cracks his back a little bit. And yes.
I have an awkward question about spell slots, actually.
Okay.
So, Tiny Hut expends a spell slot like any other spell would do.
Yes.
However, I've just had a long rest, but the spell was going on during my long rest. So would I regain that spell
Yes,
slot?
because you
Yes, because I cast it
Yeah.
before the long rest. I was just wondering because obviously it was ongoing.
And it's not concentration.
It's not concentration.
Yeah, no.
That would be a very shitty skill.
Yeah.
Still for us.
No, it just lasts for 8 hours. So
You
the
fall
hut,
asleep and it disappears.
the hut probably dropped before everybody waking up.
Yes.
Because it only lasts for 8 hours.
Yeah, but
Like I
it's
said,
better
that's
than
what
nothing.
prompts everyone's life.
Yeah, but that's good to know. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Rolls and yeah.
So, everyone, you wake, and in the distance you can see Baldur's Gate ahead of you.
Are we having breakfast?
Yes!
no, because
The bird wants that.
yeah. I was trying to think what. Yes, I think there is a ridiculously over-the-top breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Do you
it's
still have
really
the octopus stuff?
intricate. I think I've got the octopus stuff. I think I found.
And I gathered some stuff. So I
Yeah,
can
you
chuck
found
that
some
in.
stuff, and I think I got some weird stuff on my back. Like it's like.
A banquet.
So, it's like when somebody, it's like when someone gets angry and like punches a punching bag, but with like cooking. So she's just expending
montage.
all of her mental and physical effort into cooking this ridiculous breakfast. Given
So
that
really, it made more sense if you did the last watches, so that
Oh,
it's
yeah,
like
maybe.
a real chef when you get up really
Yeah.
early.
Oh, yes,
It's like
you're not a
a
real
real
chef.
And
You're
not
just
a
like
fantasy chef.
my father. I'm a fantasy
Fantasy squid.
Fantasy squid. Yeah, no, so I think it is like everyone might be a little bit taken back by how ridiculous this breakfast is. There is too much food. It's probably a waste of resources, actually.
You say too much.
yeah, Donalfon's probably loving it. But yeah, there is a
Is some of
spread.
it cooked? Are you,
I think
have you
some
got
of
a
it would
fire?
be
Okay.
cooked, yeah.
So you need to go as close to the fire as you can.
Okay. So, you eat your breakfast. It is, of course, delightful.
Oh, it's a wonderful breakfast. It's just a lot of breakfast.
And you all start to pack your things, yes?
As we finish breakfast,
Mm-hmm.
Spinwin,
Hey.
no offence, I really appreciated your sharing yesterday, but it'd be good if we could all have a chat without you.
I mean, none of you have prefaced anything with no offence so far, so don't feel the need to stop now. I will go and literally piss in a bush. And he starts to walk off, and you can just hear vaguely in the distance this soft.
How long?
As long as it takes.
He's just
Can
in
I
the
just-
bush going.
as he goes and like towards one bush and going, not that one is poison ivy.
Okay. Cool. So, you are left on your own.
Okay.
So going to Baldur's Gate is going to be very, very dangerous. There are very dangerous people who I found out are going to be aware of our group and where we're going. And I thought it only fair to give you fair warning that I don't know what dangers await us in Baldur's Gate, but at the moment it seems like there's going to be eyes on us or looking for us, and I don't know who those people would be. I know who is behind it, but I don't even know if that person is actually in Baldur's Gate. What worries me is the fact that he knew our group and where we were going, and we've seen no one so far that seems suspicious. So Baldur's Gate is likely to be a very dangerous place for all of us. So I intend to keep going because there is some duties and some things I've been searching for that I need to get done. But I'm in no way thinking that you should be obliged to follow. I would understand, because I do not want any of you to die for a cause you do not know. I do appreciate the help and the faith, but at the same time, I don't think if there's a danger of losing your life, you should know. So if you decide to go your own path, I can only wish you luck, but I will be going into Baldur's Gate.
Danger hasn't stopped us so far, I don't see why it should now. I can protect myself if it comes down to it.
I know you can.
So you say you don't know who could be watching us, but you know the people who are behind them.
Yes.
Who is they?
There are a group of people whom I've come across before and they took something from me.
Perhaps if you tell us more about them, that might help.
They're a group who seek power. They're a group who seek power, one of which who is particularly malevolent. I've crossed paths with him before and I nearly lost my life. And I do not relish the fact that I will most likely have to fight him again. And what other powers, friends, or scoundrels he's accrued over that time, I do not know. I only know that his reach has grown, he has more power, which means he has spies likely to be in places that we would not expect, and our movements are going to be very difficult to keep hidden.
Okay,
So,
but how are your odds better without us? If he's beaten you before, and don't get me wrong, you're a very, very good fighter, but without us, if he's got more,
maybe one person is easy to hide and walk around than
All right,
front of
Cranky.
people.
You're the best at hiding.
I know.
I agree. Not with that.
No.
With him. You are clunky then.
Although true, yeah, Terry, you're very good at hiding.
Yeah.
It's a higher risk going on your own, but
A large group is hard to hide in person.
True.
and if you fail, only one person fails. Not five.
True, but I'm not sure I can live with the idea of us failing you right now.
And we've already come this far. If we didn't continue, it would be a waste of time.
That it would.
Well, if we're going in, we should tell you roughly what we know.
So,
That would be helpful.
tell us.
I mean, you were there.
Wasn't I?
Yes!
No, but I thought there's like extra information, isn't there?
Yeah, but you were there for the whole
the-
meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
I retcon tell us.
You tell them.
Yes.
Yeah, you tell them.
So, yeah, so
I have it all written down.
there was a meeting, and the meeting was of various figureheads
This is the one in Waterdeep that you
in
mentioned.
Waterdeep.
We both ended up at the same meeting.
Yes,
Oh.
it turns out that the people we were after have some kind of connection. And apparently in Baldur's Gate there is an item that will help them with their cause. And the specifics of that cause are,
They're trying to create a church.
yeah,
Church.
A faith built on people. It all sounds kind of okay to me, to be honest.
kind of okay, but
I would disagree, but go on.
Knowledge should be accessible. That's the.
my worry is not the idea, it is who is behind it, because
Yeah.
a good idea with bad people behind it is still a bad idea. So,
What they've said is they presented this idea to the other people at the meeting, and then they said to think on it, and that they would contact them to find out their answer. So they're trying to create a
Something
group, a something.
that is after an item. Do we know what that could be, or are we just
we
going
didn't
in?
find out.
Okay. But they know your...
They know us as a group are headed toward Baldur's Gate.
So how did they find out about us as a group?
That I don't know.
There seems to be kind of two, the way I see it, slightly separate things. There's this first church, and then there's this guy who you
Yes.
saw yesterday,
Yes.
and they're linked somehow. The guy that you saw knows about us.
When did you
Therefore,
see this guy?
This guy appeared as an image, and he's someone who the guy I was referring to when we fought before.
What? He appeared as an image?
He wasn't really there, yet we could communicate.
Okay, so people could do that?
Yeah.
It's called magic.
Yeah, I know. I know, but the most magic we've experienced so far is you putting a very impressive protective dome over us, not projecting yourself over however much distance.
Which
I
makes,
can do a little bit of healing, that's about all the magic I know.
which makes it difficult to know where he would be for him to do that. Whether he has to be in a certain range.
Well, Scarlet, could you find that out for us, if there's a spell?
I'm sure Baldur's Gate will have libraries I can read.
What's worrying for me is that if this guy knows about us, that he's told Icarus Mile, who is in charge, he's not in, did most of the talking, right?
No,
Oh,
also
the other
Far
guy.
Gate.
What's the
That's
far
what I
gate?
mean. But Icarus Mile is who he's
and-
working with.
Jesus.
And Father Tomlin,
Okay, the monk.
the representative from the first church.
Okay.
Yeah.
If he's told this first church group, that has much bigger repercussions that I would much rather avoid. So when we get to Baldur's Gate, if they don't already know who we are, where we are, we need to do everything we can to prevent that from happening.
I think so.
So if we go in together, because we're quite recognisable, so should we split up and meet somewhere in the city?
We
Or
could
are
split up.
just still going to be seen.
I think splitting up as into splinter cells means that it is probably a little bit harder for them to pinpoint to where exactly we all are. So,
And this probably means that I should leave Rodigan behind again.
a rhino will probably be very easy to recognize.
We could leave him in the outer city.
Okay.
You'd have some company with the wonderful opponent, perhaps.
She isn't blind.
You're not convinced.
So the less conspicuous we can get into Baldur's Gate, the better.
Yeah.
I propose we perhaps meet at the Dripping Tap.
Which is...
In Baldur's Gate
Where
somewhere.
Spinman's going.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So we all go separately, meet there in the evening.
Before we discuss logistics, out of interest, did the First Church mention any sort of deity at all? Were they wonderfully vague?
Not that I remember.
All they said was that they they disagreed with the methods and the corruption within the Lord's Alliance. They wanted to essentially create their own alliance to usurp the Lord's Alliance.
So this is what I wanted to ask, because I've written down what I think they said at the meeting, that their meeting was treasonous.
Yes.
So what's the political landscape like? Is the Lord's Alliance essentially the government?
So you would know this through your travelling, and it's pretty common knowledge. Maybe Zini, you would have less of an idea, but you'd still be aware.
I think I'll have heard the name, but I don't really know what it refers to.
So the Lord's Alliance is essentially a conglomerate of different cities along the Sword Coast that, out of convenience of trade, politics, wealth, knowledge, have essentially banded together and said, we're not going to attack each other, we're going to use our resources together, we're going to create stable trade routes. Not all of the cities and villages and towns along the Sword Coast are a part of the Lord's Alliance. A select few, like Waterdeep, Baldur's Gate is one, Neverwinter, Luskan, a few members, a few cities in
Those
it.
cities are like on a board, essentially.
Essentially, yeah, it's kind of how it roughly works. So, as a result, they are effectively in charge of majority of Faerun.
And is there actually a law that says if you conspire against it, that's illegal?
I mean, probably not in so many words, but at the same time, if you're planning on essentially causing a revolution to bring down the very form of government that is in charge of everything, they're probably not going to take lightly to that.
It's kind of almost like the EU, in
Yeah.
the sense that they're not like the definitive government, but the individual governments subscribe and meet and kind of discuss trade policy and
Share
trade
laws
alliance
and
to a degree like the movement of people and labour and all that sort of stuff. So it's that kind of thing where, like, obviously, you know, you can't necessarily commit treason against the EU, but you can kind of commit it against the individual city-states by saying, well, maybe we don't want that person to be lord anymore. You know?
There's just going to be a Brexit announcement.
No.
But yeah, so
It's fantasy.
So-
This is my escapism.
so yeah, essentially, yeah, you would understand it as being the First Church want to implement something else.
Okay, cool.
So that is pretty much everything we know
Okay,
at this point.
so we need to keep as low a profile as possible.
Yes.
We're not sure what we're looking for, which I'm not saying is your fault, but that's going to make it very difficult.
Yes.
Did you say Ikreth Mar?
Aircraft Mall.
And Ostafar?
Gate, who was the librarian.
The High Library.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We met him more. Well, you met him more.
I didn't.
Oriana,
I don't
right.
think we did. Those two.
I did, didn't I? It was definitely you.
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
there.
So they're going to be in Baldur's Gate, so presumably we
As
have
far
to
as we know.
try and find them without being found ourselves.
Or at least find out what they're looking for.
Yes.
Get it
They're
first.
fairly
So I
high
think-
figures, so it's likely someone would know.
Yeah, so, and there might be a degree of fanfare, certainly for the head librarian.
Yes. Yeah.
Unless it's a secretive.
I think our best player is probably you, Tara.
Why?
Because you're sneaky.
Mm.
And me a close second.
Mm.
But we're still quite distinctive. I mean, you know,
Yes.
even with hoods up.
Yeah, I would like to find a longer term solution to any kind of disguise.
It looks like we're leaning more and more on magic that we don't understand.
Well, now we have a plan. We're going to meet at the Drippy Tap.
The drippy
The
tap.
drippy tap.
The drippy tapping.
Dalafar, would you be able to go there first and get us a room
Okay.
so that we're not all interacting with the.
I'll take Stinway. I can make it another way.
So you're all going
It's not a bad
individually
idea.
or pairing up?
What's out there? And 6 altogether. Isn't it?
6 altogether.
With their 2s.
3 twos would be good.
And it's not a bad idea you going to swinging because he's going to meet his friend. So
That's true.
if he's just got you along the way to meet his friend about a job,
And his
That
friend
could be
being involved as
context.
Gates might be helpful with some information. So.
yeah,
Think you should be going together?
yeah, sure.
You guys are happy?
Of course. Yeah. Of course, me and Oriana will be very discreet, won't we?
So discreet.
Is your horse permanent?
Yep.
It skeletally looks at you and then.
Because it's very conspicuous.
But like out of game, is
Oh,
it a
actually.
spell? Is it? Does it not? Can you not dismiss it?
Yeah, it's until it drops to 0 hit points, at which point
Okay.
it
Could she
disappears.
choose to dismiss
Or
it?
I think you can choose to dismiss it.
So it's
Let me
like a
check that.
familiar.
You can dismiss your steed as an action.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Should I ask you the question again? Is your horse permanent?
Yes, but I can dismiss it
Okay.
or kill it, but that would defeat the object.
I think dismissing should. If that's okay.
Because even if we don't take it into the city, if somebody stumbles on the route with a rider and a skeleton horse, I think they know that something is up.
Sitcom waiting to happen.
Yeah.
It's the rider and the
Skeleton.
Okay. It's still a morning, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it's still morning. Okay. Spinwing is still having a sledge. The way
He
Okay.
drank a lot of wine.
At what point should we split up? As soon as we get to the outer city?
Before we get to the outer city, I'd say.
Okay. You go
Does,
first.
does anybody know where we're going? Obviously,
Spinwing
you're going to be
knows.
with Spinwing.
We can
but-
ask Spinwing to tell us.
Ask for directions, okay.
Yeah. We'll split up on the way in and meet up at
Well,
dusk.
at dusk at the dripping tap.
And just keep our eyes up for anybody following us, anybody keeping an eye out for us.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily alerting them to the fact that we know that they're there if we do spot.
Yes.
Lovely. So, as Spinwing returns, and as you all pack up your things and start to once again join the main road, where there is much more traffic now as it's moving towards the city, we're going to take our break very quickly.
Fantastic.
Because that was a long first half.
Oh god!
Hi, I'm Ed, and you are watching Dungeon Manager. Thank you so much for watching, all of your support. It really means the world to us. Just being silly in front of the camera for you guys is an absolute joy. If you want to leave us a like and a subscribe, please feel free to do so. It would help us out massively. YouTube algorithms and stuff that we don't really understand. And if you want to support us further, you can also do so via our Patreon link down below. Any support would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, back to the good stuff. I guess more of me talking. Sorry. Right, we ready to dive? Are we winning? Are we ready? Are we ready? Are we ready to
We're
dive
just
back
going
in?
to suddenly come across a guard that is that.
Yeah.
I just
Got
want
to
see
change
how much
everything.
I
Cool. So, you make your way across towards the main road, where you find yourself walking alongside various carts, horses, mules, oxen, various other people who are walking the same journey as you are. Spinwin is with Dalafar, Terra with Zini, and Oriana and Scarlet.
Are we still kind of together, or have we split up?
It's up to
Why?
you guys. What do you guys
Yeah.
want
Where
to
are
do?
we now, sorry?
You're on the main road. There's
How far off are we?
probably, for expediency's sake, you're around an hour off.
Right, I'd
Maybe.
say this is probably the point where we split up.
I think so.
Okay.
Try and blend in with different groups.
Are we just saying that, like, you go
We're
off
going to
and
stagger.
we hold back and then we go off and then
Not
you
bad.
go
I
off?
think that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
just kind
So
of
we just
having a
wait for,
time
like,
split
half an
between.
hour.
Yeah.
Can I keep an eye on the other people travelling and just see if any of them notice us particularly in terms of us obviously hanging off the road and
Make a perception check for me.
I'd like to do the same since I'm in the lead.
Okay. Anyone who wants to, make a perception check.
Just as a given,
Ooh,
I think I'm
that
gonna
was nearly
try and
terrible.
keep my face
Uh,
as hidden as possible.
it was nearly a 7. It is in fact a 23. No, 21. Sorry.
Mine is almost terrible as well.
I got a 6.
Woo!
Are we all rolling?
Yeah.
If you want,
Anyone
if you
wants
want to keep
I
it.
got a 22.
I guess it would be.
I've got a 1. I'm blind now.
My dice literally it went
15.
It just happened.
So, Oriana and Scarlet, you guys find yourself behind a particularly buxom oxen.
Oh,
And
okay. That's not a word I would
Buxom.
use for an oxen.
it's what we're using
Okay,
now.
Okay.
And it
Like
is.
your persona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
got big udders.
It's thick.
Yeah. The rest of you, you see, most people aren't really paying much attention. There are, stretching as far as you can see, hundreds of individuals who are travelling towards the city. Many of them seem to be traders, merchants, some of them entertainers as well. You can see one wagon which seems to have a couple of fold down stages and things, and a guy dressed in a very kind of jestery outfit on the front with a really sorry looking mule out front. But generally the only attention you guys seem to be receiving, because there's a real mix, there are humans, yes, but there are also dwarves and half-elves and a couple of half-orcs. You even notice a couple of goblins as well here and there. You see one or two dragonborn down the entire journey, but not like anyone out of the ordinary, no tieflings. And so the one thing you do notice is that anyone who's passing Oriana seems to be giving a bit of a side eye, but continuing on. But eventually, after around an hour's walk, the walls of the city slowly grow closer, taller, more intimidating, and you start to see shapes moving along the top of the wall. And you start to get a sense of just how large the city is. From a distance, it really doesn't do it justice. It is huge. And as you approach the walls of Baldur's Gate, you find the road down which you travel now surrounded on every side by slums. Houses barely cobbled together from wood and thatch, most of them around 1 story tall, if that, surrounded by wet, thick mud. Men and women dressed in rags stomp between them, their feet occasionally getting stuck. They're covering shovels, they're pulling carts, they're sort of carrying items for trade, which occasionally they offer up to people who are moving past, mostly ignored. The city looming beyond, it takes you a good 50 minutes to make your way through this area, the outer city.
Are we all separate? We're all separate.
Yeah, this is kind of as you're approaching in
Also,
the various places.
I've left Rodigan way back,
Okay.
not in the city even, just in nature, and just said to him, just look after yourself.
Yeah.
We'll be back as soon as we can.
Okay, sure thing.
It's a glitch.
Sci-fi world.
It's a glitch. You blew. The world blurs.
The Matrix reveals itself.
Yeah. You wake up, a strange stabbing sensation in the back of your neck.
Where? How far from the main entrance are we?
You can see it now. You can see traffic slowly beginning to slow at this point. So you're probably around 10 minutes away.
Okay. Can I just if there's is there like a notice board?
Yeah. So as you're moving through, sort of in between a number of hovels, essentially, you can see a notice board. There are a number of documents on there. Sort of a couple of wanted posters. You can see notices for jobs as well. You can see sort of like the equivalent of a "you are here" kind of thing. And it looks like you are about to enter an area called the Upper City.
Is there anything on that noticeable that catches my eye in particular?
Make an investigation check.
Oh no. 5.
Nothing really. No, I mean I can tell you what you do see
Yeah.
if you'd like to. So,
Only if you have it prepared.
yeah. So you can see a number of information wanted posters, and it says the guards of the Flaming Fist welcome information on any and all criminal behaviour within Baldur's Gate. Reward negotiable. There are a number of others. There are a few sort of advertising specific shops within Baldur's Gate. There's one that says visit the Wide for all of your shopping needs. There is also emblazoned slightly more colourfully than the others in grand spidery lettering written in red. The Great Hutan's Grand Tour comes to Baldur's Gate, and underneath, world famous chef Hutan Boucher finishes his grand tour within Baldur's Gate. Come to the Pen and Parchment on Marpanoth the 15th for a book signing and a meet and greet with the man himself. And the 15th.
Okay.
And it says entry 1 gold.
How do you spell that name?
So Houtan, Hutan, and last name Boucher, Boucher.
Hutan Boucher.
And you would recognise his name, Scarlet,
Yes.
as one of the books that you took from the library in Waterdeep.
All I can hear is Hutan Boucher.
But unless you looked at the notes.
Hutan
I'll be telling you that later.
Yes, yeah.
So, as you make your way towards the gate, portcullis up, drawbridge down, you can see that the traffic begins to slow, and you each see, as you variously approach the gate, that the guards appear to be stopping people and sort of conversing with them, and you see money change hands.
I turn to Zini, we're together, aren't we? Turn to Zini and say, we're going to need 5 copper each.
Yeah, I can cover that. That's fine.
No, I mean I can cover mine.
Oh well, yeah, but I can cover for myself. Is what I meant.
So you see a number of the guards. They're wearing sort of quite dull grey armour, and their uniform are sort of long leather dark blue / grey jerkins with red sashes tied around their waists, and they seem to be carrying halberds. And there are a number of them. You can see humans, you can see one dwarf who appears to be on your side as you're approaching, but perhaps more noticeable on either side of this road and this traffic that's moving down it, right next to the gates, are throngs and throngs of beggars, just sort of reaching their hands out to everyone who walks past. Most of them ignored, but these are clearly a lot of the people who live in the outer city. And every so often, like, you can see one of them try and cut through into the traffic and start to make their way in, and you can see guards sort of grab their halberds, and you see one of them literally knock one in the face and go, "Get back! Get out of here! Bloody beggars." Next! And the traffic is slowing until eventually you two reach the fore.
Is there any beggar, or does anyone who looks like they could be a beggar ever pay to get in?
No. You would know that the 5 copper charge is specifically to prevent.
So if someone
people.
was to go with 5 copper, they'd get 10.
They'd be, yeah, potentially, because the guards would know sort of who's in the outer city, and yeah. So, but it's generally a charge incurred to avoid beggars from being able to go into the city. But as you approach, you can see a short, squat dwarven guard, and he's got under his kettle helmet a big orange beard coming out, and he's like, 5 copper to enter.
Did you say dwarven guard?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much. What's your business in Baldur's Gate?
We're travelling, so we're just staying as we travel through.
Well, safe stay, and you go. Next! And this same thing happens for each of you as you approach. Spinwin does a little trick with his copper as he gives it over. He sort of makes it disappear, and then he brings it out. The guard's just like, and Spinwin sort of looks up at you and, come on, testy bunch, aren't they? Right, let's see if we can find this dripping tap. And as you each enter the city on your own, you are met with a wall of noise behind the city. As you make your way through the giant northern entrance, the shadow of its giant portcullis looming above you and the wooden drawbridge below your feet slowly makes its way to cobbled streets. Vast streets stretching out before you in every direction, horses, carts and pedestrians alike creating an endless stream of traffic in both directions. Now, unlike the paved surfaces of Waterdeep, the streets of this city are almost entirely cobbled, with long mossy drains stretching down the centre, creating vague lines of traffic on either side of them. And on either side of these streets, plaster and wood-beamed buildings pass you by, each of them topped with either slate or tiled roofing. 2 or 3 stories in height generally. Clotheslines hang above the street, drying themselves in the cold autumnal air. And occasionally these buildings bridge across the cobbled streets above, and the light above from the sun blinks out as you travel underneath them. Now, generally, the air around you, salty as it is also close and damp. It is quite an unpleasant, clammy atmosphere. And further ahead, as the city seems to slope downhill, you see over the roofs of houses, inns and businesses, towers, spires on the horizon, silhouetted against the coastal skyline. And standing over the more mundane buildings around them, giant domes and magnificent towers pierce the clouds, and above many of these, the flag of Baldur's Gate flies above it, a boat floating on the water. Now, the more you walk, individually and in your pairs, the starker the difference between Baldur's Gate and Waterdeep becomes. Waterdeep was always busy, but it felt expansive. Comparatively, this city is packed. It is teeming with people who are practically crawling over one another to get to where they're wanting to go. Dark cobbled alleyways appear in every street, alleyways where you see figures appear and disappear seemingly at random. Through all of this, a clamour of smithing irons, the yelling of tradesmen outside their stores, the cry of seagulls fill your ears. Through the throng of traffic, hammers smash against metal, aristocrats in powdered wigs ride by, their nose turned up at the various people around them. Priests and religious figures stand on podiums, each espousing various different gods, and there is a variety of them. Beggars in rags sit on the street, hands held out, hoping for something, oftentimes ignored, and occasionally you see guards walk up to them and usher them away and try and get them away from the local populace. And occasionally you see young urchins darting in and out of all of the people. And occasionally an angry cry accompanies this as someone goes, "Hey, where's my wallet?" And you hear the tittering of kids as they're running off, going, running off into the crowd.
Terrifying.
And guards of the city...
Yeah.
Hello, Georgie. And guards of the watch patrol the street, pausing occasionally to talk and reprimand the locals. This is a teeming, busy city. And specifically for yourself, Dalafar, Spinwin seems to be quite good at engaging with everyone around him. Occasionally he walks up to guards of the watch and he goes, "Hey, I'm looking for a tavern called the Dripping Tap. Do you know where that might be?" And
He doesn't know.
No, he doesn't know.
Oh, I
no.
thought we were asking him and he was telling us, he told us where to go.
Well, he said he knew he was going to a tavern called the Dripping Tap, but he doesn't know where it is.
Okay.
So he is asking. And a few people don't know, but the deeper into the city that he gets, eventually one of the guards says, "You want to go through Baldur's Gate, just a bit down the way, and then you'll find yourself in the steeps, continue onwards, eventually ask a number of citizens, they'll probably be able to point you in the right direction, okay? Thank you very much, thank you, come on." And it takes you the better part of 2 hours, probably, until eventually you find yourself, and I assume the rest of you will be asking for directions
Well, I'm just
throughout.
thinking that potentially, because how did the guards react to a tiefling trying to enter the city? Are we still there? Am I mean, we can try and talk our way in, but I'm just wondering, like, it doesn't seem like it's very tiefling friendly.
It's not, but there are looks given, but no effort is made to stop you from entering. They merely incur the charge, and as you guys are going in, they're just like, behave yourselves.
I'm
Have
a
a
chef.
seat.
I'm a professional.
Yes.
So are you? I assume you're
I'm
all.
going to
kind
take Zini a different way to where I think Dalifar would have gone.
Okay.
But we also need to find where it is. So, are you okay to ask the guards?
Yeah.
Or ask around? Maybe don't ask the guards. Ask around.
Yeah.
Where we're going.
Our experience with guards is mixed.
But also, especially here, we don't want to ask the guards.
So, can I search the, like, as we go deeper into the city, can I search the crowd for somebody who looks even vaguely friendly?
I was going to say, because I think I was the leader of the column, wasn't I? With,
Yeah, so you guys were first, yeah.
It is more likely that we would have come across that kind of information first.
Yeah, but we don't want to stay in a column, and we've gone off on a separate
No,
route,
that's
so-
true, but I'm saying is that if we came across the guard that told us where the drinking tap was most likely going to be, then I was going to say, well, as soon as we find out, I put my hand on the sending stone
Okay. Sure.
and relay the information.
Suggest this, but I couldn't because I wouldn't have been able to. So this is good.
So yeah, you.
Yeah.
I think, okay, so you find out the information, send it on the sending stone to Terra. I think I get out some of the ridiculous, I would have packed away some of the ridiculous breakfast.
Sure.
There was a lot of leftovers. It was a very ridiculous breakfast.
Yeah.
And I think I find some of the beggars.
Okay. Sure.
And I'm just like, is it morning, afternoon?
By this stage, it'll probably be around maybe midday, maybe.
Good afternoon. I made a little bit too much breakfast this morning out of, well, I won't go into that, but I have plenty to spare, so I was wondering if you could direct me and my lovely friend here to the dripping tap, and you can have a little late, I admit, for breakfast, a little tacky, but I'm sure the taste will still be fine.
Oh, God bless your heart, miss. God bless your heart. Absolutely. I can take you part of the way if you'd like. Just
That would be lovely, thank
if
you.
I could travel with you for a little bit. And you see him give a furtive glance over towards a couple of guards who are just looking over at this tiefling and this chef having a conversation
Yes.
with a beggar.
We don't bite, don't we?
Oh, it's not you I'm
Yeah.
Give it two to grip.
Yeah.
It's not you I'm worried about. But come on, we're this way. And he slowly walks away and he gestures towards a few of the other beggars he's with. I'll be back later, folks. And starts to walk off. And he takes you a fairly quick way. He seems to know the streets quite well, and occasionally he leads you down some alleyways as well. But for expediency's sake, eventually each of you, in your own time,
Where is it, please?
it is in the Steeps, which is around the centre of the city.
Okay.
It's a portion of the city that makes its way down to the harbour.
Is that a medium well-to-do? Low?
It's fairly middle class, mainly because it's very well frequented by a lot of the sailors and a lot of the merchants who come into port. And as a result, there's a lot of trade there. There's also a lot of places to stay as well.
Is Baldur's Gate around the same size as Waterdeep or larger?
I'd say it's a little smaller, but there are probably just as many people. It's more densely packed, but it is slightly more compact.
Yeah.
So it'd probably take you a similar amount of time to get from city's end to city's end.
Sure.
But eventually, each of you find yourself walking down the street, and ahead of you, on the other side, opposite a view of the harbour, which you can see some sort of distance away, you see a large stone-built tavern with tiled roofing. And from its front hangs a sign on which is painted a beer tap, distinctive green liquid dropping from its spout, and the words "The Dripping Tap" emblazon it as it swings above a wooden door, which has 2 peepholes carved into it, one at eye level, one at dwarven eye level. So you and Spinwin arrive first.
What's
So,
gnome level? Where's that? Is that lower than water?
gnome level is like just below, so they'd have to like step up on tiptoes.
It's a box.
Yeah. So you arrive at the Dripping Tap.
Okay.
So, do you want to stay outside and wait for the others, or go in?
I will go in and find.
Yeah, it's really straining. It's like.
We'll go in and I say to Spinwin, best to find a room, and then we can look for your friend.
Well, go in then.
Okay.
So, the door swings open, and the first thing that hits you is the smell and the warmth of this place. In comparison to outside, it is boiling. Pipe smoke wafts through the air, and this, mingled with alcohol and smoked meats, fills your nostrils. The place is busy, with patrons of all shapes, all sizes, all races, all backgrounds, all sat and stood around a multitude of tables, all of them round, all of them with stools placed at various intervals around. And as your eyes adjust to the misty atmosphere, you begin to get a sense of the interior. Vast wooden room, stuffed animal's head line the pillars that reach around the entire room. There's boar heads, there's stags, there's wargs, there's even a couple of owlbear heads around as well. And surrounding the room, affixed to areas of the wall, there are thick iron-wrought candelabras topped with flickering waxen candles. Circular tables, as I said, surrounded by stools, take up the room, most occupied by fairly large, dense groups. And opposite you stands a large, long bar with patrons crammed in front of it, all of them jostling for their turn and their drink. For as long as it is also very, very short. And you see behind 3 goblins running back and forth, each serving people, pulling pints. And behind this there is a long window, behind which you can see a teeming, busy, steam-filled kitchen. Again, with 6 goblins all running around and sort of barking at one another for orders. And you can hear one of them go, "It's more orders than I got warts on my foot! Okay, here we go!" And like they're sort of bringing dishes out, and you can see every so often one of the goblins on the bar going, "Oh, give me a moment!" And sort of running over and grabbing plates and running out, and sort of this, as he runs through and placing things on tables, and people go, "Oh, I'm missing it! Oh, fuck off!" And then running back to the bar. It's teeming with people.
Of course, yeah.
To your left, a gigantic stone hearth roars, filling the room with this crackling, reassuring warmth. And it's around this that many of the patrons have set themselves, sort of seeking comfort as they are from the cold outside. And to the right, a set of stairs leads up to a balcony that surrounds the entire room, around which you can see doors, many of which appear to be rooms, presumably for hire, and customers are leaning over the rails with drinks, shouting down to other patrons. This is the Dripping Tap.
Okay. So so the bar is the likely place I'll go and book a room, basically.
Probably, yeah.
So I make my way towards the bar itself.
So like I say, 3 goblinoid individuals. One of them, short, lanky. The other one, short, bit more pudgy. They appear to be of roughly a similar age, and they're running around, and every so often they like elbow one another out the way, just okay, yes, how can I help? There seems to be one other goblin who is orchestrating all of this and making sure that everything is done in good time, and she's hang on, where are her notes? There she is. So she's short, rotund, green skin with red, albeit greying, wiry hair tied quite tightly, and she has a white bonnet over her head. Sharp yellowing teeth, which, as she talks, you can see are quite sharp and pointy, around which she wears roughly applied red lipstick. She wears a simple dress with an apron tied over the top, and she sort of talks with all of the customers as the others are serving, and "Yes, puppet, yes, we'll have you that very soon, okay. Granny Fungus promises it, okay, darling. Blah, blah, blah." And eventually you guys make your way to the front. "Hello, how can I help you?"
Can we have?
Regretting sitting here now.
What you get for these?
Ooh.
So I go, can I have 3 rooms, please?
Of course you can, darling. How long are you going to be staying?
Well, can we pay as we go?
Absolutely you can, yes.
How many people per room?
Well, let me have a look. At the moment, we've got 2 rooms. Let me have a
He's
look.
making it worse because he knows how I react to
So
it.
at the moment, we've got 2 rooms available. One is 4 beds, and the other is 2 beds. And that'll be 5 silver per bed.
A bed?
Per bed, yes.
I'm not there.
I say this to you later.
Ed's committed.
Yeah, he's booking for all of us, so I'm not talking.
5 silver per bed.
5 silver per bed. How many of you will it be? Will it just be a romantic getaway for you and the gnome?
And the gnome's like, oh no, that's no, that
Bit rude, Spinman.
I don't think that's happening. Is it? Or,
That's not like
No.
wink.
Traveling companions.
Oh, travelling! Okay. Say no more. Which of the rooms would you like?
Both rooms, please.
Both rooms. Okay. So, 5 silver per head. So, when will the others be arriving?
Should be later today.
Later today. Okay.
5 silver per night.
Yeah.
Per bed.
Per bed. Per
Yeah,
night.
but are you serious?
Middle class problem.
Why
How
there's
much
so many
was it
beggars?
How much was it at thingy?
Free.
What's it?
it was free for you
Yeah,
because
but how much would it have been?
it would have been not much cheaper. Like, I mean, it's a tavern. Like, you know.
Staying in inns and taverns.
Sorry. 5 silver per bed, 6.30. Okay. I hand over 30 silver.
You
Oh, thank you.
30 silver.
30 silver. Oh,
At least for the one night.
thank you very much. And will you be wanting any food, darling?
Not at the moment, but we'll come back when you do.
Well, just so you know, if you're staying for a long time, the first meal is always complimentary on the house. Understand, Poppet?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye.
Can I just say, my wife?
That was wonderful. I had a wonderful.
So-
How have you been practicing that? Is that just when I'm at work?
Yeah.
It's time.
So, as you each, are you going to wait in the main body of the tavern, or are you going to?
I would find the sort of the one closest to the wall so I can see the entire room as best I can.
Sure thing. Yeah.
And just keep an eye out for anyone sort of glancing this way in a not so natural way. I think.
Make a perception check for me, real quick.
That is 14.
14. I mean, it's a real mix in here. You can see, and you glean from conversation. There's sailors, there are merchants there are people who are passing through Baldur's Gate. You see a couple of people with sort of swords by their hips and drinking at tables and talking about sort of where they're going to be headed next. You can see a few people who seem a bit more reserved, and these look to be soldiers of some kind, and they appear to be drinking in silence and sort of just taking in the ambience before eventually they up and leave. Eventually, Terra and Zini arrive as well, and
Can I just
yes,
say, as we've been going, I've been looking out for people like following us or paying
make a
particular
perception
attention.
check.
Same.
Make a perception check.
Ooh,
That is a great roll.
9.
No?
It was nearly really good.
12.
12. Through the hustle and bustle of this city, it's hard to see
I don't
many people. It is a busy place, something that you are accustomed to, and it really hasn't changed since you were last here. But eventually you are able to make your way through asking for directions, and through Dalafar's sending stone as well, you are able to make your way, and you see Dalafar sat off to one side with Spinwin. Spinwin, who seems to be looking at everything with this joy on his face, just looking around. And then eventually, as the others arrive, he goes, "There you have some company. I'm just going to go over and ask about their friend, if that's okay." Okay, I'll be right back. And he hops down off his stool and starts to make his way over.
Okay.
So where are you?
Sort of on the edge, I think on the far edge. So the entrance would
Like
be
in a booth or like?
no, one of the round
Yeah, there's like lots of round tables, and the
Yeah.
bar is like over there. So presumably, like to the right
yeah,
and left
so,
of the
so,
bar.
so I can so because then it'll be directly opposite for the entrance, and I can see the room as a whole.
So, and for expediency's sake, eventually you two also arrive and hail down, and you all find yourself at the same table.
Yeah, we have. I feel like we have in our sort of silence.
We're besties now.
Yeah. we're both like really shitting on the tiefling cup.
But eventually, the beggar brings you to the dripping tap, and he goes, "Thank you kindly, miss. Have a wonderful stay."
It was nice to meet you.
You too as well."
I hand over the ridiculous breakfast package.
And gratefully, he wanders off into the crowd, and you enter the dripping tap. You're met with this sort of pandemonium before you, and the others.
We're in hell.
Yeah. And yeah, you're all at the table, and you can see Spinwin having a conversation at the bar and sort of nodding, and eventually he too comes and joins you. Okay, make a perception check for me.
Because it went so well before. 19.
19. Again, it's hard to make out, but you get the impression that he is asking after his friend, and you can see this small goblin with this bonnet on and sort of wildly applied lipstick going. And she seems to be saying he's not here at the moment, and so he sort of understandably nods and comes back. But yeah, so you're all sat around the table.
Can I suggest that you got us a room?
Yes,
Can
two
we
separate rooms.
suggest we go up to the room instead of staying out here in this very busy, occupied?
Also, without being presumptuous, I imagine I'll probably, if he was expecting me, be staying with my friend. So don't feel you have to accommodate me into your rooms.
Okay.
That's fine. I'm happy to.
I'll really pay for the bed for you.
I'll organise it. I'll pay you back. I'll figure it out with that. Honestly, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
Better you have the rooms, especially as you appear to have your own thing going on. It's probably best I not intrude on that, so I can wait for my friend. He's apparently out at the moment. So.
Thanks,
Oh, that's all right. Not a problem. But I'll busy myself.
Well, I still tell him what room we're in.
Okay, so you're in rooms 8 and 10.
Okay.
So there's a door between you, the two rooms. But room 8 has the 2 beds in, and room 10 has the 4 in.
Shall we all just go up to the bigger room for
Yes.
now?
As we're going, I sort of say to Spinwin, "It was nice to meet you. You know where we are if you need our help."
Of course, I imagine we'll be seeing a fair bit of one another. I'm
Hopefully.
going to be staying in the same
Yeah.
damn building, so I hope so.
But next chance we get, you have to teach me that song.
I will, absolutely. I mean, no better place for it, and he gestures, and Baldur's Gate is, like I say, not a place I'm familiar with, but a lot of good songs, so anyway, get on with you. I'll see you later.
I race up the stairs after everybody else.
So, as you make your way up these slightly sticky stairs, it's not pleasant.
Stickiness on scales.
And eventually, you come to room 10, and bracing yourself, you open the door. And as the door opens, the smell of incense hits you. And the first thing you think is red. Red cushions, red curtains, red duvets. Now, unlike the messy downstairs, these bedrooms are immaculate. They are luxurious. Four beds stand against the walls, facing one another 2 by 2, thick mattresses rising almost to waist height. Dalfar, you'll probably need to heft yourself up to get on top.
High test.
Mahogany bedside tables and giant wooden chests accompany each bed, and opposite the door, in front of a large pair of cross-hatched glass windows, there is a large metal empty bath. It is a beautiful room. It is lovely.
I suggest I take the room next door.
Because you're the only man.
I mean, yes. So, we'll stay here for any discussions, but I'll take the room next door.
Oriana is unhappy. happy about that. But doesn't say anything.
Ariana will remember this.
Scarlett is having the best time now.
I would like to see if anyone is sort of displeased by that.
Make an insight check if you want.
Scarlett's like,
Ariana?
this is real mahogany.
20, natural 20.
Yeah, you can tell Ariana is
There's a load of
pissed. It's like a 1. But yeah, you can tell Oriana's pissed. She wanted the other room.
Or if anyone else wants to. I'm more than happy. I just thought because I'm the only male in this group, it would be for privacy's sake. Would anyone like the other room?
I mean, have you seen this embroidery?
It's fine. You can have it.
And I would like to see if she actually means that.
She does not mean that.
You don't even need to roll today. She didn't mean that.
Well,
No sacrifices. I don't know.
I mean, the room's already red.
Yeah, it won't even
You're not gonna know.
Yeah, the other room's like pure white, so actually it'd be like really bad for you.
Okay, but if that changes at any point in time, I'm more than happy to change rooms.
who knew the biggest source of character conflict would be who bunks where? Right, okay. So,
Very carefully not touching any of the embroidery with my claws.
okay,
Like retracting them as much as I physically can.
sure.
Not scratching the wood. Like walking.
For fun, make a dexterity check, because
Walking-
you made a thing of this
Walking
now.
heel heel.
I would very much like to just nudge Xenia a little bit.
At disadvantage then, please.
Seriously?
He's nudging you.
Yeah, he is. He's being a dick. I love it.
No, that's not great. That's not great either. It would have been rubbish anyway. That's 7.
There's a slight nick as you pass one of the mattresses as Dalafar just cackles away to himself off to one side like a dick.
Can I try and like spin and bring my claw like that far away from his face?
Yeah, sure.
Just
I would very much like to dodge.
Okay, make opposing dexterity checks then, please, for me.
In the meantime, can I take the bed by the window?
Yeah, of course you can.
Thank you.
Natural 20.
Oh my god.
22.
Ooh, Dex
Does
would
that-
be
what happens-
22.
It's equal.
But if it's a
Depends.
natural 20, doesn't that not?
Yeah, I thought that
overpower
overrid
it?
I thought a natural 20 was the highest no matter what.
Depends.
Yeah.
It depends whether you think that you can crit on abilities or not.
In certain situations you can. I'm willing to just leave this as a stalemate. There's no life or death on the line. It's
Yes.
fine.
I wasn't-
It's
not that
all
you
fine.
know.
I wasn't going to rip his throat out. I was literally just making the point and
Yeah,
putting
yeah.
the claw like that far from his nose.
The point is definitely made as you both like, and it's playful. But... So, Tara, as you go and sit on the bed, it's sort of around maybe 2 o'clock, maybe going on 3 roundabout now. And from your vantage point, as you sit by the window, looking out over the city, you see perched on one of the opposite buildings a white raven just looking at you through the window. Staying still, but just sitting there.
Okay.
So,
Can I just say to Delvar as well, like, you're paying for the route. I'm trying not to damage it. I'm not like just doing this for fun. If I scratch the wood, then it'll cost us money.
Yeah, Dalafar, don't be a dick.
You'll want it to.
I'm saying
I
I'm
just-
having a great time. Like,
I just
here
sort
you
of
go,
Start
darling.
taking a step or two away from both of them, as in, make it look natural. Just like I'm going to sit on the edge of one bed.
Which bed?
you have to like...
See, I think I would give Juliet the other bed next to the window, and then I'm next to Juliet,
Okay.
so she gets.
But don't we need all 4 beds?
Yeah.
No, we don't. Oh, yeah, we do. No.
Yeah,
Four of us.
I think Scar doesn't think about it.
And I
She's
sort of
just
look and
there.
go, I'm fine on the floor.
Unlike
She would be.
Zinni, Juliet couldn't care less about Claus. She's just there going, just like curling up on one of the pillows and just.
I mean, Scarlet knows mending, so she.
Yeah.
So we'll be. I'm
Doing
trained
it as 10 for
vegetation.
cute.
Yeah. So we.
Just every morning cast it around the area.
Yeah.
Juliet and
Constantly,
Finn.
just. Cool, okay, so, what's everyone wanting to do with the rest of the day?
Mine's dependent on whether we all wanted to have a chat or not.
I think that would be a good idea. I think it would be useful.
Okay.
So if that's how it looks, then I'll stay.
Yeah. So I would like to go out and see if there is anywhere that I can get information from about the Ostofa gates.
Are you asking around, or are you gonna...
I am going to go. I plan on going downstairs and asking the gnome if there is where the biggest library would be.
The goblin or spinner, sorry.
Sorry, the goblin at
Oh,
the
okay.
bar. Sorry, the
Yeah.
With the beautiful one.
Yes.
and the lipstick.
So, Dalify, you want to go and ask around in the city and ask the goblin, do you want any of us to send ourselves out and go and find information, or do you feel like that might tip people off if a few recognisable people are asking questions about
I think
a
so.
few recognisable people?
I think if I go out alone, if I run into any problems, I'll make my escape. But short of that, I think it's best to limit our numbers and exposure in the city.
I mean, yeah, I would, try and go rooftop to rooftop, but as you've pointed out to me, I'm not very good at that.
Pointed out and what I saw are two very different things. So.
Yeah, but you went on about it a bit. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe.
I don't go on about the time that you nearly died and I saved you, but never mind.
All about the time the wolf was on your leg and I saved you.
I could have got it off. I can speak to animals. Even faster.
You must have said something to piss him off then.
Out of character, but it would have been like, ooh.
Maybe you just...
Your wolf is really bad!
Maybe you just looked at him.
Pretty sure he was not on your leg before I even got anywhere near you, so...
You can't do that.
Well, I can. He bit your leg.
That's true, but you may have seen your face first and just been...
I was on a
Good
cart. He's a wolf. He was on the floor.
You don't know.
Well, I do. I was on the cart.
Could have been doing something. I'm bored of this conversation. Tara, what are we doing?
I mean, I don't have any needs at the moment. I'm happy for Dalvar to go and
Okay, so
find
we're just
stuff out.
gonna
Maybe you guys just lay down.
sit tight.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I go outside.
Just leave. Cool.
If nothing else, if I, for emergencies, if I don't get back, just look for probably the biggest library. The likelihood of it there. And I head out.
Did I see the notice board with that chef's name on it?
Make a retroactive perception check for me.
Would be one.
I think if it's a big enough event, he would. It would be everywhere.
That was 11.
11.
Yeah.
I think, you wouldn't have seen it outside,
Yeah.
but as you were making your way through the city, it's advertised quite a few places, quite a few notice boards
Yes.
have the Great Hooter emblazoned across them. So you know he's coming, and you know that the date is going to be the 15th.
What-
sorry.
What's the date today?
The date today is, I believe it's the 13th.
Oh, okay.
So 2 days away.
Yeah.
Out of interest,
Mm.
from what I've read of his book, what do I think so far? What are my professional chef views? Am I like he's a bit,
He seems
Yeah.
big on... The book that you got was more about presenting dishes to different species and things like that. So it's very much about presentation.
Yeah.
He doesn't go a lot into recipes. He's not big on going, this is how I did it, this is everything you need. It's a very vague kind of, anyone can do this. You can just present it like this and make it look nice, and these are the kinds of meats you should probably serve to this person, this person. It's not very comprehensive.
Okay.
It's more sort of like a party planning guide than
Yeah.
a recipe.
Okay.
When you're in the library, you did see other books from him, but none that you cared to peruse. But
None
yes,
of them seem to
jump out
they,
at you.
They didn't pique my interest, but they're very like generic type titles.
They were.
Do I think it's a bit overhyped?
It's not for me to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yeah.
Or is it just, am I Thingy Bob from Ratatouille?
Yes.
Am I the critic? And
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah.
everyone can cook, and I'm like, how dare you?
How dare you know? Or he's like,
Yeah.
you. Yes. So you are aware that he
Yeah.
will be in the
He will
city
be coming.
in around 2
Okay.
days.
I know that mentally for later.
Okay. Lovely. So, is anyone, while these guys are going off doing whatever they want to do, what are you doing? Anything in particular?
Hanging out with Scarlet, but not really.
Cool.
It's not awkward at all.
I think Scarlett is, because she's in a very fancy room.
Yeah.
Also, it's bright red, and she likes the colour red. So I think basically she's probably talking at these two, like just like a proper like roller coaster mouth about like cuisine and cooking, and maybe a little bit about like goblin cuisine that she's tried, and that she'll have to try that later downstairs. It's just like a barrage of words, like maybe like a 4-year-old, and they're like, really excited.
I'm trying to follow it genuinely. Like
Cool.
I'm not like just nodding along. I'm
Yeah.
genuinely trying to follow it and finding it very difficult.
Yeah, and that sort of thing where like I talk as if they've responded, but they have, just
Yeah.
kind of like, oh yes, and of course, it's a marked difference to how she was like in the hut and stuff. I think. Yeah.
And I'm trying to keep track of the pages as she goes through and trying
Yes.
to read bits, but she's way too fast.
Yeah.
So, are Terra and Alpha going off?
They're heading
Not
off. Yeah.
necessarily.
Well, not necessarily. Okay. They've left the room.
Okay. I would like to go downstairs and get a drink.
Okay, sure thing. So just before that, well, unless there was something else you wanted to do. Okay, cool. So Dalifar, you approach and Granny Fungus once again.
Hello?
Hi, I was wondering if you could tell me where the biggest library is.
Oh, the library. Read about it.
A little bit. There's some things I want to look up.
Oh, okay, well, there are a couple of libraries dotted around, all quite small. If it's books you're looking for, I would recommend looking a little further outside of the city. There's Candlekeep, around an hour or so beyond the city walls if you go out the Basilisk Gate, further on down the coast.
Okay, thank you very much.
Not a problem. So, will the group be wanting to eat, or...?
Yes, and send 4 meals up, please.
Oh, we don't do room service, I'm afraid. I like to keep the bedrooms in a good condition and good nick. All meals must be eaten down here.
Fine. I'll let them know they can have some meals down here.
Bless you, thank you. I don't mean to push. I don't want to be a fussy busybody, but, I do take great pride in my hospitality,
It shows, thank you.
Oh, bless you, my darling, bless you. Come back for a drink later, okay?
I love her, but I hate
Thank
her.
you.
Yeah.
And I go back upstairs.
Lovely. Okay.
Will we pass on the way?
I would think so.
Anything?
There's Candlekeep, which seems to be out of the city gates outside the Basilisk Gate. So
That's not Baldur's Gate at all, really. So the students say there's any library inside.
they're smaller ones, but I think they're like the likelihood of the small libraries having the kind of information I need, or the people to attend those libraries. I'm going to need to go to one of the bigger ones.
Okay.
Defunding of lives. Disgusting. God.
I just wonder, just because he's a librarian doesn't necessarily mean the item is there.
True, but they will most likely know when he'll be arriving.
True. Assuming it's not a secret.
Assuming it's not a secret.
I'll be back. Sure.
And if you want food, it's complimentary for our first night stay.
Great.
And I continue to leave.
As you go up, Oriana passes on her way down to grab a drink. Terra, you're making your way out?
Downtown.
Downtown?
I just want to go to where they're ready.
Okay, sure. So you go round, it's sort of round the other side of the tavern, and you find yourself in a street. Lots and lots of noise as carts are passing you by, and up above, just stood there, looking down at you, White Raven just stands there.
So I'm going to go into the closest alleyway so that there that's quiet,
Mm-hmm.
within view of it, I guess.
As it looks down at you, it's around 20 minutes or so, as it just like sits looking at you. And eventually you can sense the sun starting to go down, starting to get darker. Still very busy within the streets, but eventually the raven sort of hovers in the air for a bit and then starts to gently coast its way west.
Oh,
East.
it's leaving.
East, yeah. But it flies on a little bit and it lands a little further down and sort of maybe 30 feet away, lands on a building and just looks back.
Oh, okay, well, I'll follow it.
You approach, again, flies up and starts to just glide its way eastwards.
Is east, which district is east?
It would be through the steeps and into Heapside.
Right, okay. Okay. If I'm going to try turning and going back where I came from, does it, like, just stop?
Like, perception check.
Dirty 20.
So as you sort of double back on yourself, you look back and you see that, indeed, the raven stops, lands, and kind of looks back at you down the street in the distance, just sitting on top of one of the roofs, and it waits.
Okay. And then what time is it?
It's 3:30, 3:45, maybe.
Okay. I will head in the direction of the house I was asking about. Which way is that?
Which one?
From the session.
Okay, so Heapside.
Okay. Oh, so it's there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. So I'll go there then.
Okay, cool. So, walking, the raven once again looks at you and takes off and starts to glide eastwards.
Okay.
And you follow?
Mhm.
Okay. So, everyone back in the dripping tap. You're having a drink, which Granny Fungus puts in front of you, and she goes,
That'll be 4 copper, love. Thank you very much.
Fungus.
Fungus.
What was that with an H?
Fungus.
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 Except for the S, it's just very silent.
Fungus.
Is there anything anyone else is wanting to do with
Well,
the
I
general
only
day?
went up to tell everyone about the meal thing, and then
And then I think
I'm
Scarlet
heading
will
out.
go down. Is he going to come down and have some food?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dan.
I'm heading out to Kendall Keep. It's how far away?
It's a long journey. Like, you wouldn't know.
No, okay.
She said it's like an hour down the coast.
Right. Okay. So, but the other smaller libraries are closer.
There are libraries within the city, she said. So you could.
I would like to find the closest library.
Okay, make an investigation check for me.
13.
How much? So?
13.
13. It takes you a little while. You are unfamiliar with this city, and a lot of it is sort of quite alien and quite rough as well. Like, as you're walking through, a number of people just elbow you as you're walking past, and it's in comparison to Waterdeep, not a very friendly place. A lot of the people you see occasionally like shouting at one another, and there are various altercations, and occasionally you pass alleyways where it looks like people are sort of holding one another against walls. It's not nice. It's not a nice place. But eventually you are able to find a place that approximates a library. It's sort of small, maybe 2 stories high, wooden, slanted, tiled roofing as well. And there are cross-hatched glass windows in its front and a small door. And you can see, looking through, numerous books, shelves and shelves of books, maybe sort of 20 feet deep, the building. But yeah, so you're able to find it, and inside there is this fairly wizened-looking old man. He's got tufts of hair on either side, which are white and slightly wiry. He's got a single sort of island of hair that's maybe around like 4 strands. And he's got a droopy moustache, and he's wearing these sort of black robes. And he's, hello, how can I help?
Hello. I've just spent several days traveling down to Baldur's Gate, and I was under the impression that there was going to be a visit by one of the high librarians from Waterdeep. Is that true?
Waterdeep?
Yeah.
Oh my. Well, that would be a great honour, but it's certainly nothing I ever heard about, I'm afraid. I mean, I set this up, I inherited this from my father, so I'm not really in I'm afraid, with the greater library world.
Well, have you been to Kendall Keep?
Oh no, that would be a great honour, but unfortunately, no, it's not a journey one is often. I mean, it would be an honour to go, but I've never been. I often have to hold the fort here.
Ah, I see. Well, okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Were you looking for a book or?
Well, I was in Waterdeep at the large library.
Oh, the vaults. How is it? I've never been. I hear it's quite magnificent.
It was a fleeting visit, but I was hoping to visit Kendall Keep as well, and I was looking for some insight into what it was like.
Well, all I know is that, from what little knowledge I've been able to glean, is that in order to enter, you need only provide them a book. A book they don't own.
Ah.
They often like to add to their collection, but if you can supply them with information that they don't have, then they're more than likely to welcome you into their fold. It's one of the reasons I've, alas, and he gestures around at his collection, have never been able to attend. I mainly have familiar tomes handed to me second-hand by people who no longer want them, family members who passed on, and
Okay. And do you know who looks after Kendall Keep?
well, the Avowed, the Avowed, the monks of the Avowed, they are notoriously secretive, keeps themselves, but occasionally they do grace us with their presence in this city, which is humbling experience. I've only met one of them before, but so knowledgeable about literature and all things worldly.
How often do they visit? When was the last time they visited, rather?
Oh, last time, they maybe come into the city maybe once a month, I would say, once a month.
And have they been in the city this month?
Well, it was around 10 days ago, so I'd maybe in one more 10 day, I imagine, we'll probably be granted another visit from them, I'd imagine.
Okay.
Becoming Boris Johnson.
I mean, he has less power being a librarian. I'm all for it.
Let's play with Ruff.
Okay. And we're actually... I'm not going to ask that. Okay. And thank you very much.
Not a problem. If you ever need to loan out anything, we're always open every day, 10 days of 10 day.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Not a problem. Well, I'll see you soon.
Thank you. Before I go,
Yes.
I've heard there are other sort of similar libraries. Do you know where I might find those?
I mean, dotted around various districts. The Steeps and Bloomsbridge, you'll probably find the most luck. The districts that I would imagine, I would steer clear of places like Brampton and Heapside, especially. I hope you don't mind my asking, but are you new to the city?
A little bit. Yes.
I would avoid them. Like the plague, I would avoid them.
What's in Heapside?
Heapside is better, but with much of the trade coming in from Basilisk Gate, you can expect a few unsavoury individuals looking to, well, take what they can of those coming in, take advantage of those coming in with goods and services. Brampton, and unfortunately, it is one of the less catered for districts of the city. I would stay clear. A lot of people have taken advantage
Which
of them.
one's the closest?
Heapside is directly next to us.
I'll go to Heapside, thank you.
Very brave for a newcomer, but I wish you luck.
Thank you.
No problem. Good night. I'll be setting up soon.
Alright, I head out.
So,
Don't go to Heapside, I go to Heapside.
so
He said wrong time was worse, so I was like, which was the closest?
flashing back to your culinary experiences, as your table is plated up and the goblins come over and give you these various plates, it is a roast covered in red wine gravy, and it is, even by your very high standards, very, very, very good.
Oh, what meat is that?
It is chicken.
It is chicken, okay.
Chicken, and there are portions of both mash and roast potatoes. There are thick slabs of what seem to be some form of Yorkshire pudding, and there are piles and
Is there
piles.
a Yorkshire in fairy?
Sort of like Waterdavian pudding.
Deep shit.
And yes, it's piles and piles of greens and carrots, and it's really good. It's really good.
That's wonderful. I think I'm digging in. I think I have kind of continued talking at these poor souls a little bit, who I don't know how they're taking it, but I think I'm going like yes, the kitchen did look very, very sort of busy. I've never minded a busy kitchen, but I have to say I don't particularly like a crowded one. You know, I've always worked sort of best alone in the kitchen. Although there was one time with one of my
There's no one for you to make eye contact.
Oriana is staring off into space, just
yeah.
hating everything.
But of course they were magically.
deliberately not looking at them at all.
But of course they were sort of magically created servants, so you didn't quite have that difficulty though of the communication.
Wait,
I get
a knife and I start to like.
She's talking about the chicken now.
But magical servant?
Yes, my employee created to help me out in the kitchen. It was
Who was your
very
employer?
useful. Oh, best not to talk about him. He's, it didn't part in the best of ways. But, it was a very good while it lasted. But, just some people, they have such small visions, they don't see the big picture. They don't see where art can lead you. It was just very disappointing.
It's like
he
a
couldn't.
villain's backstory.
That's why I
Let
was
me tell
take
you
over the world.
everything.
Yes. But, it was a
They just don't get it.
I created holograms.
But yeah, it was just very constricting. It's a shame to see someone magically gifted so small-minded.
So, it is now dark. It's around 5 o'clock. Alright, you're Oriana.
Oriana.
We are
Tara.
so similar.
Tara, as you make your way through the city, the raven occasionally disappearing out of view, only to come back in, you find yourself in the slightly quieter as various carts move out of the city, and you can see various wagons loading up their crates and their barrels and their goods and making their way out. You walk through various streets and alleyways, and the raven continues to fly until eventually it lands. It lands on a fence fence next to a building you are familiar with. Somewhat dilapidated house. The roof missing, slightly singed at the edges. And ahead of you, the fence next to it. A single nail in one of the slats that hangs loose. And the raven sits atop this fence, just looking at you.
Can I see inside the building?
Make a perception check for me.
21.
So, as you know, the bottom floor, the windows are all boarded shut. Up top, you can see through a couple of gaps in the tiled roofing and some of the struts and a few of what remain of the windows. Don't see anything. You can just see the east wall of the city beyond, towering above.
Can I hear anything?
No, just the sound of the odd vagrant walking past and a few people sort of finishing up business and going home, and a couple of dogs barking in the background, but that's all.
Okay, I'll pull the fence aside and at least like put my head through.
Slightly tighter fit now, but you push the slat to one side and you look through and you see the bottom floor of the house. Floor, almost a crater, ash burnt out, but you can see stairs leading up to what remains of the top floor, various floorboards sort of jutting out at odd angles, and you can see the remains of a hammock just coming down from the rafters.
Can I see any evidence of occupation?
Using your previous perception roll, no, it's quiet.
Okay, no footprints.
None as far as you can see.
Okay, I'll go in as quietly as possible.
Make a stealth check.
Just rolled along the side of my neck. 24.
Like a whisper, if that, you make your way in. And looking behind you, you can see the raven has now turned and it's just looking at you. Where are you going?
Am I in just the main?
You're in like the bottom floor, ground floor.
Does it all look just very standard?
As it was, there's a fireplace off to one side which is all blackened and
Yeah, I'll go up the stairs and try not to creak.
okay. You're able to do so. And as you come up, you are met with this open space, hole in the roof, looking out onto the east wall. You can see a box precariously balanced on the rafters. And on the ground, you see a single wooden toy just lying there. You can see a couple of mouldy books off to one side, a rusted cooking pot, orange and flecked metal. You can see mould growing along one side of the roof as well.
What does the toilet do?
Sort of wooden, no hair or anything, just wooden blocks and stringlings ending in wooden, roughly carved baubles.
Presumably no one else is in the room.
Doesn't look like it. You can make a perception check if you want.
7.
As far as you can see.
I will go to the open wall and just look out for a bit.
Okay.
And then if nothing Does nothing happen for 5 minutes? I will go and look in the box.
So you climb up with relative ease and prying it open as it sits next to the tattered hammock that hangs from the rafters. Everything remains there. There are a couple of odd shoes, a couple of scrunched up bits of paper, bits of string, and the note.
Okay, I'll close the box.
As you do so, you hear a voice from down below. So you received my note?
Yeah.
The woman down below, elven, pale
see her?
skin. You can see her.
Through the hole.
Yeah, she's just down. She's on the first floor, but you're up in the rafters.
Right, I see.
And she stands there, black braided hair, pale skin, brown eyes, sharp angular features, long pointed ears. She's wearing brown leather armour with sort of a long tailcoat over it. And on her back there is a quiver and a bow. And on each side of her belt there are curved short swords. She stands there. The last time we met you were blind drunk. Consider this a chance to make a better first impression. Do you remember me?
Yes.
And this place?
Yeah.
Please don't think these were mind games on my part. In fact, I'm impressed, if anything. She looks around. Winters must get cold here.
How did you know about?
You have information for me?
Yeah.
She perches against one of the windows, and fluttering up through one of the windows, the white raven comes and lands on her shoulder. She crosses her arms and just surveys you, dark brown eyes piercing into you.
So, Brecht was invited to a meeting at the box. The meeting was held by Oscar Gate and a monk called, do I know his name?
Father Tomlin.
Father Tomlin. And Icarus Marl. They were appealing to the attendants to support their new organisation, the First Church.
First Church, where are they based?
I don't know.
You do.
I do know.
Yeah.
Do I?
Comet shut.
Right. Okay. So I get the impression they want to overthrow the Lord's Alliance. They are waiting for the people at the meeting to decide whether to support them. But the most important thing is that Icarus Marl, he announced there was a traitor and he stabbed Lady Torthana. That was the nature of the message that I sent. believe he would have known about my presence at that point. But I've since found out that Icarus Mal is associated with Laris? Someone called Laris, and he may know about the fact that I'm following this up, and he may have passed that on to Icarus Mal.
How did she die?
He stabbed her.
Could you have done anything?
To save her? Not without immediately blowing my cover, and probably also dying and not being able to save her.
One of our agents was already there. Now she's dead. Do you know why you were there?
I assumed as a backup.
A backup that was not communicated to me.
So who sent me then?
Your benefactor. Now, if it were up to me, I would have you stripped of your title and your position, arrested in Geshford, and now one of our agents is dead. It is sloppy, and your work over this past few 10 days has been messy. Two things I do not tolerate. Thankfully, it is not up to me. She reaches, takes out a pouch, throws it on the floor in front of you. Your benefactor, I owe him my life. And for that I am willing to keep your secret. Please don't make me second guess that decision. He wants to keep you on for continuity. I'm inclined to agree. But don't make me regret that decision. Do you understand? Good. There's 80 gold in there. Use it how you will. Continue looking into this.
You don't think I've been compromised?
I am the only one who knows. No one else.
Not Icarus Mal?
We will deal with that. For now, pursue Tomlin. Pursue Gate. That is all you need to concern yourself with. Do you understand? I understand you're travelling with a group now. Do they know any of this?
They don't know my involvement. They know that I'm pursuing something that vaguely aligns with one of their similar goals.
Make sure it stays that way. She turns. She steps up on the windowsill. As she crouches, ready to leap off, she looks over her shoulder. One more thing. Your dwarven companion. Keep an eye on him. And with that, she jumps into the night. And the raven follows. That's where we'll end tonight's session.
So next session, somebody else from the past,
Yeah, yeah.
and then the next, that's the next.
And they're all elves.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, elf heavy, like
Yeah.
we've got this pro elf backstory.
Yeah. Right, well,
Who was
thank you
that?
guys so much. You're now in Baldur's Gate, so
Cool. Yeah.
yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much. See you next week. Bye.